You have successfully disguised yourself as Ku Hu and deceived the law enforcers. Disguise ability plus 20. You have accessed Ku Hu's perception of Lu Hong, Thousand Faces/Moon, targeted at Lu Hong. Assassination probability is 63%. After all, I've also been in the enforcement team, and you people trying to catch me with this kind of action is just laughable. Once the captain of the East District Enforcement Team, Qin Gang knew the city's enforcement personnel's tactics like the back of his hand and could make all the law enforcers run around in circles. With his abilities, those law enforcers couldn't touch him. Qin Gang casually weaved through the crowd in the mall, going unnoticed by anyone. He had once again assumed a new identity, currently going by the name of Ku Hu. He had now accessed the perceptions of 21 enforcement officers regarding Lu Hong, and the system had helped him integrate the information into Thousand Faces/Moon. The assassination probability for the Thousand Faces/Moon designed to kill Lu Hong had increased to 63%. This assassination probability was actually quite high, but Qin Gang was still not at ease because he hadn't been in contact with Lu Hong for a long time. Lu Hong's current strength might have greatly improved, so he needed to increase the assassination probability even further. If he wanted to further increase the assassination chances, then the next target was clear. Lu Hong's daughter, Lu Jiwei. Lu Jiwei knew her father Lu Hong better than anyone else. As long as he accessed Lu Jiwei's perception of Lu Hong, this operation was almost guaranteed success. Qin Gang turned his gaze towards Lu Jiwei, who was peering over the third-floor railing, and chuckled lightly as he walked towards her. But at that moment, a restless teenager ran over and accidentally bumped into Qin Gang. Sorry, it wasn't intentional. I'm in a hurry. The teenager quickly apologized. Qin Gang frowned and glanced at the teenager, feeling that he looked somewhat familiar. Right, this kid is the one Lu Jiwei and the others kept calling Beifei. Qin Gang reflected inwardly. He didn't know Xiang Beifei's name but had eavesdropped on the conversations between Lu Hong and others through his glasses. If this kid can come here, he must know Lu Hong. Maybe like Lu Jiwei, he's an intern in the enforcement team. To boost his success rate further, Qin Gang couldn't let go of anyone who knew Lu Hong. No worries, I know you. You came with Captain Lu, right? Qin Gang, currently disguised as Ku Hu, pretended to be concerned. Yes. Oh, you are also. Xiang Beifei realized with a start and then hurriedly lowered his voice, whispering, Sorry, I didn't know you were an enforcement officer too. You have learned Beifei's accent. Accent material library +1. Qin Gang grabbed Xiang Beifei, pulling him to the side and said urgently, It's okay. Now's not the time for apologies. Be careful. Any discoveries? Qin Gang's impersonation of Ku Hu was serious in demeanor, a perfect copy of the real Ku Hu, even mimicking Ku Hu's speech impediment accurately. When it comes to acting, Qin Gang is professional. Xiang Beifei spoke anxiously. Nothing, that Lai Wuying is too cunning. I'm really worried about Uncle Lu. Lai Wuying is too powerful. I always feel like we're no match for him. Xiang Beifei looked anxious and even a bit worried and fearful. As he spoke, his gaze darted around, resembling a rookie who was unsettled. A contest in acting? Beifei was no less capable. Qin Gang patted Xiang Beifei's shoulder concernedly, saying, You seem very nervous? Don't worry. Captain Lu is so powerful. He will surely bring Lai Wuying to justice. We have to believe in Captain Lu. You have learned Beifei's body language habits. Body language library +1. I just think Lai Wuying is too formidable, making us chase our tails. But we don't even know where he is. Xiang Beifei took a deep breath, trying to calm his agitated emotions. Qin Gang patted Xiang Beifei on the shoulder again, saying, Justice has long arms. Captain Lu will definitely catch Lai Wuying and bring him in. Come on, cheer up. Yeah. Thank you, I feel more confident after your pep talk. By the way, I don't know your name. Can I call you Brother Hu? Sure. Brother Hu. Thank you, Brother Hu. My last name is Xiang. I know Lu Jiwei brought you here. Brother Hu, I want to be a city law enforcer in the future. You must take good care of me, your little brother. Don't worry, I've got you covered. The two actors competed in their performance with genuine emotion and sincerity. It was as if a senior was looking after a junior. You have read Beifei's perception of Lu Hong, Thousand Faces/Moon, targeting Lu Hong. Assassination rate is 63.2%. At this moment, Xiang Beifei remembered something and said, "Right, I need to check out the third floor. Can't delay any longer." Without waiting for Chun Gang to say anything, Xiang Beifei ran off. Chun Gang looked at Xiang Beifei's retreating back, his eyebrows slightly furrowed. He had intended to take Xiang Beifei to a blind spot in the mall to fully learn Xiang Beifei's perception of Lu Hong and impersonate Xiang Beifei, but Xiang Beifei did not give him the chance. Several customers strolled by. He couldn't lay hands on Xiang Beifei forcefully. However, he did not pursue because he had just tried to read Xiang Beifei's perception of Lu Hong and found that he had only acquired 0.2%. Forget it. This kid must be new here and hasn't gotten to know Lu Hong much. That's why I only got an increase of 0.2%, which is as good as nothing. Chun Gang believed there was no need to waste effort on a greenhorn. So he searched for Lu Jiwei's location again and headed towards her. Chun Gang casually stopped beside Lu Jiwei. "Kuhu, how are things on your end?" Lu Jiwei was peering around from the railing on the third floor when she saw the disguised Chun Gang approach and asked. "I didn't see Lai Wuying," said Chun Gang. "You have learned Lu Jiwei's accent. Accent Material Library +1. He now had a 63.2% assassination rate. His ultimate target for impersonation must be Lu Jiwei. Lu Hong was not an easy kill. He was significantly stronger than Chen Gang and possessed a powerful investigation system, which could sense changes in the air around him. Even if one tried to approach while invisible, it was not guaranteed to succeed. In short, Chun Gang alone would have great difficulty in killing Lu Hong. But it would be different if he impersonated Lu Jiwei. Fathers, in general, are not guarded against their daughters. So he needed to use Lu Jiwei to get close to Lu Hong. Chun Gang used the glasses he had gotten from Ku Hu to search the mall, and saw Lu Hong searching in a clothing store on the fourth floor, smirking to himself. "Jiwei, I feel like something is not quite right. Why is there no movement from the others?" said Chun Gang. Lu Jiwei stood with her hands on her hips and nodded seriously. "I feel the same. I just saw Sister Lily and Luoshan knocked out by Lai Wuying, and they won't wake up no matter what. You have learned Lu Jiwei's body language habits, your body language library +1. Then we can't split up any longer. We must find Captain Lu and regroup," said Chun Gang. "Let's go to the fourth floor to find him." Lu Jiwei nodded and turned to head towards the fourth floor. Chun Gang followed Lu Jiwei. As he walked, his posture gradually began to synchronize with Lu Jiwei. But just at that moment, Shuemo, carrying a shoebox, came around the corner. Shuemo, with an urgent look on his face, called out to Lu Jiwei, "The cat's alive! I know the cat's alive, but where is he?" Lu Jiwei asked. Shuemo kept staring at Chun Gang, who was disguised as Ku Hu, and stuttered, That's not Ku." But before Shuemo could finish his sentence, he suddenly paused because Chun Gang had disappeared right before his eyes. For a moment, all he felt was a clouding of his consciousness, and then he fell over. As his consciousness faded, he vaguely seemed to see two Lu Jiweis. "Xiao Shui, is the cat alive?" Lu Hong pressed his fingertip against his glasses and hissed softly, "The cat is alive." A stiff voice came from the communicator. "Where did it come alive?" "At." Shuemo hadn't finished speaking when Xiang Beifei's voice rang out through the communicator. "Uncle Lu, come quick. Something's not right here. I saw him. Beifei." Lu Hong was shocked and called out urgently, "Beifei, where are you?" "Parking lot. Parking lot. Hit the Azure light armor. Give me your position. The Azure light armor is shattered." "What? He attacked you?" "I'm on my way." Lu Hong turned and dashed toward the stairs. As he descended, he nearly took 2 floors at once, his speed reaching the limit. "In the parking lot?" Chun Gang, who had disguised himself as Lu Jiwei, flickered slightly as his gaze shifted. He had just used Shui Mo's voice to try to send Lu Hong to the cinema to find him, but unexpectedly, Beifei had suddenly run off to the parking lot. What was Beifei doing in the parking lot? But he didn't think too much of it, as in his eyes, Beifei was just a bumbling youngster who didn't know anything. Now that he was Lu Jiwei and knew Lu Hong was heading to the parking lot, all he had to do was go there and kill him. The parking lot had few people, making it more convenient to destroy the body and erase any traces. He glanced at his system panel. You have accessed Lu Jiwei's cognition of Lu Hong, and the kill rate of 1,000 faces/moon, targeting Lu Hong, is 75.2%. Even Lu Jiwei didn't fully understand her father's true strength. Nevertheless, 75.2% was almost enough for Chun Gang. 1,000 faces/moon was his most potent ability, which he would adapt and learn from various aspects when dealing with any target. By reading the perceptions people close to the target had of them and then integrating that information into 1,000 faces/moon. This information is best when it's freshly collected because a person's strength can change at any moment. If information was gathered a few months or days ago, it might become obsolete if the person has a breakthrough the next day. This would render the collected data useless. So all this had been designed by Chun Gang. It would be more accurate to say that Chun Gang deliberately leaked the information to make Shui Mo foresee his presence at the mall, rather than say he was prophesied by Shui Mo to be there. As the captain of the law enforcement team in the Eastern District, he was very aware of the workings of the enforcement department and knew exactly how to deal with these people. On his system panel, there was a blue orb of light, within which flickered a cold, piercing gleam, incessantly intertwining. This orb was all the information about Lu Hong. He hadn't yet merged this reward into the mix. He wanted to use the orb at just the right moment. As long as he could unleash it unexpectedly, this move would certainly kill Lu Hong. The parking lot was dim. The lights hadn't been fully turned on, with only a few sporadically lit. Lu Hong frantically searched the lot, all the while softly calling for Xiang Beifei through his glasses communicator, trying to pinpoint Beifei's location. Beifei had said he was at parking space number 33, but now that Lu Hong was standing there, he saw no one, and there wasn't even a car parked. Beifei, answer me. Where are you? Are you all right? Lu Hong searched the surroundings with caution. He had a powerful investigation system which could deduce traces of events that had occurred based on the scene. Just now in the mall, because it was the weekend and there were too many customers coming and going, the scene was disrupted, and his investigation system was held back, unable to determine where Lai Wuing was. But the parking lot was relatively less crowded, and he began to search for traces following the footprints near parking space number 33. This trace, it was left by Beifei. Lu Hong squatted on the ground, carefully distinguishing for a while. A gleam of spiritual power lit up in his hand, transforming into a stream of faint light that seeped into the ground. He then looked up at the fire sprinkler head above, frowning slightly, somewhat puzzled. After a moment, he turned to look at another fire hydrant nearby. The scent remaining on Xiang Beifei's body had extended there. What exactly is this kid Beifei up to? He'd better not be in any trouble. Lu Hong was very anxious. Just as he was preparing to head towards the direction of the fire hydrant, a hurried running sound came from another direction. Turning his head, he saw that it was his daughter, Lu Jiwei, and he let out a sigh of relief. Shoo! Keep it down. Lu Hong made a silencing gesture. Dad, I heard Beifei's cry for help. He said he was in the parking lot. Where is he? Lu Jiwei came to a stop beside Lu Hong, looking around anxiously. I don't know. I'm searching for him. Lu Hong didn't take a closer look at Lu Jiwei. It's all my fault. I told him to stay with Shui Mo, but he disappeared when I came back. What if something has happened to Beifei? Lu Jiwei said with a great sense of guilt. Now is not the time for self-reproach. Lai Wuing is likely nearby. Be careful. Come here. Stay close to me.
Luon gesture.
Okay. Lu Jiwei quickly walked towards Lu Hong. A hint of cold light passed through her eyes, and she formed a scarcely noticeable cold smile on her lips, while her hand behind her back clutched tightly at a dagger. Lu Hong, who had been running around the shopping mall, was somewhat exhausted and didn't take a good look at Lu Jiwei. In fact, even if he had looked at her closely, it wouldn't have mattered. Chun Gang knew Lu Hong's investigation system too well. He knew exactly how to position himself so as not to be discovered by Lu Hong. Lu Hong, oh Lu Hong. Don't blame me for being ruthless, blame yourself for meddling in the past. Chun Gang watched Lu Hong's back, slowly closing the distance between them. If not for the lethal ability of Thousand Faces/Moon, even if he approached Lu Hong normally, it would be hard to assassinate him because of Lu Hong's investigation system, which provided quick investigative abilities and extremely high agility. But this time he was fully prepared. As long as he was within the lethal distance, Thousand Faces/Moon would be able to place him in certain death. 5 steps. For steps. However, just then, a voice came from behind them. Hey! Lai Wuying. Lu Hong quickly turned around upon hearing the voice. Chun Gang was startled, and the dagger in his hand instantly disappeared. That was close. He nearly got discovered. Chun Gang was secretly annoyed. Beifei. Seeing Xiang Beifei unharmed, Lu Hong immediately breathed easier. However, he quickly became alert and asked, Beifei, what did you just say? Where is Lai Wuying? The opportunity to assassinate had passed in an instant. Rage flickered in Chun Gang's eyes, but he forcefully suppressed it, asking in Lu Jiwei's concerned tone, Beifei, are you okay? You had us so worried. We thought you got captured by Lai Wuying. Lai Wuying wouldn't come to capture me. I'm not his target. Xiang Beifei stood next to the car, calmly looking at Chun Gang. I'm right. Am I not? Lu Jiwei, or should I call you Lai Wuying? Chun Gang, disguised as Lu Jiwei, stiffened, saying, Beifei, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm Xiao Wei, what Lai Wuying? Lu Hong looked at his daughter and then back at Xiang Beifei, asking, Beifei, what are you talking about? Uncle Lu, be careful. She's not Xiao Wei, but Lai Wuying, Xiang Beifei stated. Lu Jiwei laughed. Beifei, are you confused? How could I be Lai Wuying? I not only know you're Lai Wuying, but I also know your name, you're Chun Gang. What? Chen Gong. A shock ran through Lu Hong's mind. Even Chun Gang almost let his disguise slip in alarm. How does this kid know? Lu Hong asked urgently. Beifei, what about Chun Gang? Explain clearly. It will be clear, Xiang Beifei said. At that moment, there seemed to drift a scent of something burning in the air. Smoke began to spread, and the temperature started to rise. Where's the fire? Lu Hong looked up behind him, but just then with a whoosh, the fire sprinkler overhead in the parking garage burst open, and misty water sprayed out. Lu Hong and Chun Gang were standing right underneath the fire sprinkler. Damn it! Lu Jiwei was shocked, moving quickly to the side, but it was still a step too late. The mist drenched him, and his clothes began to form holes as if they had been splashed with magma. Within these holes, a faint blue glow flickered in and out of sight. Thousand Faces refined reminder. When disguising as someone else, avoid contact with water, as it will wash away all disguises. This was the vulnerability Xiang Beifei discovered in Chun Gang's Thousand Faces refined. This superbly powerful disguise system was actually not waterproof. Xiang Beifei was well aware that he could not make Lu Hong trust him on his own. Even if he pointed out Chun Gang's disguise, the next moment Chun Gang would escape. So all he could do was let Chun Gang attack the others, then lure Lu Hong to the parking lot, simply start a fire in a trash can, and trigger the fire sprinklers above, exposing Chun Gang in front of Lu Hong. Lu Hong also noticed the anomaly on Lu Jiwei's body, and realizing the truth, he exclaimed, You are not my daughter, you are. Bastard. Chun Gang glared at Xiang Beifei, then his figure vanished in front of Lu Hong. His system could block electronic tracking devices, and Lu Hong was wearing tracking glasses at that moment. To him, Chun Gang was invisible. Whoosh! Chun Gang suddenly lunged, kicked off the wall, and leaped high towards Lu Hong. But Lu Hong had already sensed the attack. His perception was incredibly potent. Even without sight of Chen Gang, the moment Chen Gang struck, he detected the disturbance in the air and sidestepped, narrowly dodging Chen Gang's dagger. Bang! Lu Hong spun around and kicked, the potent force moving through his body. Relying on his sharp perception, he aimed for the wrist where Chen Gang held the dagger. Chen Gang was kicked away, crashing into a car window at a distance, shattering it into a hole. So strong, Xiang Beifei couldn't help but admire. Lu Hong possessed the investigation system. His reaction time was nearly top-notch, and combined with his own strength, he held his own against an invisible Chen Gang. However, the blow did not bring Chen Gang down. With a push of his hands, he leaped out, putting some distance between himself and Lu Hong. "Uncle Lu, the glasses! Take them off and you'll see him," Xiang Beifei shouted. The glasses! Lu Hong didn't quite understand why Xiang Beifei wanted him to do that, but remembering that Xiang Beifei had identified something off about Lu Jiwei earlier, he subconsciously chose to follow his advice without hesitation, tearing off the glasses. But when his gaze landed on the person not far away, he was utterly stunned. Chen Gong. Lu Hong looked incredulously at the familiar figure before him, his mind going blank for a moment. The person in front of him, whose disguise was washed away by the firefighting spray, was none other than the cherished friend he had once lost. Chen Gang glared at Lu Hong with a gloomy expression, then turned his gaze towards Xiang Beifei, who was joining in on the commotion at the side. His heart filled with unending fury. He simply couldn't understand how he had been exposed. In order to kill Lu Hong, he had strained his brain to lure Lu Hong to the mall, using the system's disguise and relying on his understanding of law enforcement officers to play them for fools. Even Shui Mo, someone with a predictive type system, had no way of determining who he had disguised himself as. But in the end, this kid had pierced through his disguise. Looking at the kid's age, he should still be in school. Perhaps he had only recently awakened his system. How could he, an S-tier system owner, be seen through by the other party? Shen Gong. You're still alive. Lu Hong looked at the other party in astonishment. I thought you were killed by Lai Wuying. He is Lai Wuying, Xiang Beifei said. Lu Hong was taken aback. You're Lai Wuying? How could this be? Lu Hong seemed unable to accept this fact. Half a year ago, when the news came that Chen Gang had been harmed by Lai Wuying and had died in the line of duty, Lu Hong had been depressed for a long time. He secretly swore to apprehend Lai Wuying and avenge his friend. But he never, ever expected that when he saw Chen Gang again today, he would suddenly be told that the very person he had been chasing was the supposedly slain old friend. He remembered the times in the eastern jurisdiction when he had pursued Lai Wuying with Chen Gang. Many doubts started to clear up with Chen Gang's resurrection from the dead. What exactly is going on here? Lu Hong clenched his fists, his voice shifting in tone. If you hadn't discovered the connection between me and Lai Wuying 6 months ago, I wouldn't have needed to come after you. Chen Gang spat out bitterly. With things having come to this point and thousand faces / moon in hand, he couldn't be bothered to keep up the disguise any longer. 6 months prior, when Lu Hong went to find Chen Gang, due to a moment of carelessness on Chen Gang's part, Lu Hong stumbled upon significant traces left by Lai Wuying, leading to a joint investigation with 2 other powerful experts. At that time, Lu Hong had not realized that Lai Wuying was Chen Gang. Chen Gang knew that if the investigation continued, it would eventually lead back to him. Yet he wasn't strong enough to kill Lu Hong at the time. His only option was to fake his own death to destroy the evidence. When Lu Hong followed the trail to Chen Gang, he found that Lai Wuying had murdered Chen Gang viciously. The scene was extremely bloody, and Chen Gang didn't leave a whole corpse behind. Knowing Lu Hong's investigative skills, he disguised the scene himself, making it chaotic to ensure that even Lu Hong with his powerful investigation system couldn't identify it. Having the cover of being the captain of the Eastern Jurisdiction's law enforcement team, Chen Gang was free to commit crimes under the identity of Lai Wuying, which made him grow stronger. But all of it was ruined by Lu Hong. Chun Gang couldn't accept it. He grew to hate Lu Hong, vowing to take back everything he owned. Once the storm had passed, he plotted this entire operation. The opposing district had a prophet, which he already knew about, so he deliberately made the prophet foresee that he would come to this mall. He then used his system to disguise himself, preparing to kill Lu Hong with a fatal blow from Thousand Faces/Moon, and then impersonate Lu Hong to become the law enforcement team captain of the Western jurisdiction. That way, he could continue to cover up the actions of Lai Wuying with the identity of a law enforcement team captain. The entire plan had been proceeding orderly, and even just moments ago, he had the perfect opportunity to strike a deadly blow. But he hadn't expected the carefully laid trap to be completely destroyed by this kid who came out of nowhere. Chun Gang was filled with bone-deep hatred for Xiang Beifei. You. It's actually you. Lu Hong clenched his fists, staring blankly at Chun Gang. Initially, when he investigated Lai Wuying, he found that Lai Wuying was connected to Chun Gang and started suspecting him then. But as he pursued further, he discovered that Chun Gang had been harmed and thought he had misunderstood his old friend, even blaming himself for half a year. Over this half year, he had always felt guilty about the death of Chun Gang. But now, he realized that all this was merely orchestrated by Chun Gang. His intuition had been right all along. Why? You were already the captain of the enforcement team in the East District. Why would you engage in shameful dealings like those of Lai Wuying? Your duty should have been to protect your city, not to commit crimes. Lu Hong spoke in a deep voice. Protect the city? Chun Gang's expression suddenly twisted. The Thousand Faces refined system required learning to disguise oneself as different people, inherently ensuring he could not just be a law-abiding citizen. There was a time he wanted to use this system to engage in espionage, fight criminals, and restore peace and order. However, he gradually found that being a spy fighting against crime gave limited boosts in the system, and having a moral baseline often tied his hands during missions. It was better to be a criminal, not bound by ethics or laws, doing whatever it took to grow stronger, which allowed for much faster improvement. Thus, he took a different path, leveraging the system to become the elusive Lai Wuying. From then on, the system made him stronger and his desires grew uncontrollable. We all have our choices. The moment we awaken our systems, our futures are bound. You have no right to judge others' rights and wrongs. What kind of system one has dictates what kind of person one becomes.
Chun Gang responded coldly.
In his view, awakening the Thousand Faces refined system meant he was destined to become a criminal. Nonsense. Lu Hong glared at Chun Gang, growling, "We may not be able to choose our awakening systems, but we can choose our paths. Don't you dare blame your misdeeds on your system." Boom! Lu Hong burst forth, his arms glowing with red fire, as if flames of rage were burning. The flames wrapped around his fists, distorting the air around them. What kind of person to become is a choice we make, not one made by a system. Lu Hong threw a punch at Chun Gang. The fiery punch's wind was fierce and powerful, evaporating the mist above and sending two cars next to it flying. He punched Chun Gang, showing no mercy, feeling only fierce anger. Unable to forgive Chun Gang for knowingly breaking the law, Chun Gang's body also emitted a blue glow, numerous lights interweaving on him, instantly transforming myriad times. His dagger radiated a cold moon glow, as he too met the explosive fiery punch head-on. Boom! The chilling moon blade collided with the fiery blast. White and red lights exploded fiercely, and the powerful shockwaves sent nearby cars hurtling into scrap metal. The clash of two Meridian opening experts wrought extreme destruction. Bang! Chun Gang was thrown backward, crashing into a wall and creating a large dent in it. Splat! Chun Gang spat out a mouthful of blood, his face turning deathly pale as his energy weakened. Meanwhile, Lu Hong, like a gust of wind, launched another fearsome punch at Chun Gang. This punch was something Chun Gang couldn't defend against at all, and could only watch helplessly as the punch approached in an instant. However, Lu Hong's fist stopped 3 inches from Chun Gang's face. Half a year has passed, and you've become stronger than before. Chun Gang let out a wry laugh, then spit out another mouthful of blood. I became stronger because of you. Lu Hong roared. Over this half-year, your death has constantly haunted me. I thought it was my fault that led to your death. To avenge you, I trained relentlessly, enhancing my own strength, all to capture Lai Wuing and avenge you. This punch was originally meant for Lai Wuing. His voice was full of anger, like a lion that has been suppressed for a long time and is about to erupt. But his voice was also tinged with a trace of regret. Over these 6 months, he forced himself to grow stronger, cultivating his blazing fist. Avenging Chun Gang became his conviction. His strength was now many times greater than it had been half a year ago. Yet, he never imagined that this punch, meant not only for Lai Wuing, was also for the old friend he had always wanted to avenge. This caused him great pain. Lu Hong's punch was terrifyingly oppressive, rendering Chun Gang immobile. His chest heaved continuously, but gradually, the flames on his fist dissipated. He withdrew his fist. Why didn't you kill me?
Chen Gong inquired.
I am a city defender, not a murderer. Lu Hong glared angrily at the incapacitated Chen Gang, a pair of handcuffs appearing in his hand, ready to restrain him. However, a fierce gleam flashed in Chen Gang's eyes. He looked at his system interface. The 1,000 Faces/Moon, gathered through impersonating Lu Jiwei and others, had not yet been utilized. Aimed at Lu Hong, this critical strike had only one chance, but such a strike was not 100%. He had to surprise him. Chen Gang knew that he had no chance of winning in a direct confrontation with Lu Hong. If he used the 1,000 Faces/Moon head-on, Lu Hong would likely dodge it. So he waited. He knew Lu Hong too well, understanding his abilities and character thoroughly. This man was stubborn. Even after defeating him, he would not deliver a fatal blow, opting instead to capture him. Chen Gang possessed strong deceptive abilities. He used 1,000 Faces refined to feign a complete defeat, waiting for Lu Hong to lower his guard and try to handcuff him. That would be the perfect moment to unleash the deadly strike of 1,000 Faces/Moon. You are not a murderer, but I am. Chen Gang's face twisted into a sinister smile, his hand lighting up again with brilliant moonlight, this time stronger than before, ready to integrate the data collected on Lu Hong into 1,000 Faces/Moon. This strike, imbued with others' perception of Lu Hong and at such a close distance, would seal all of Lu Hong's potential escape routes. Lu Hong was doomed. Lu Hong's complexion drastically changed. He thought Chen Gang had lost his fighting capacity, but unexpectedly, he had been deceived by Chen Gang once again. Chen Gang sneered. He showed no mercy. However, his sneer suddenly froze. For some unknown reason, the 1,000 Faces/Moon, which contained information on Lu Hong, suddenly disappeared. This 1,000 Faces/Moon, specifically against Lu Hong, needed to fully integrate to flawlessly block any of Lu Hong's defenses. Once it disappeared, this attack became just a normal strike in front of Lu Hong, even filled with flaws. Lu Hong's perception was top-notch. Even though caught off guard, he managed to react in time. With no room for mercy in such urgent circumstances, he punched Chen Gang in the chest. Bang! Chen Gang's chest caved in. How could this? Chen Gang's eyes bulged in disbelief. This punch was fatal to him. Until his death, he couldn't understand where his collected fatal strike had gone. It was the system's ability. He had never missed before when killing others, but he couldn't understand why the system would malfunction now. As his life force ebbed away, for some reason, Chen Gang inexplicably thought of a person. That young man who had quietly stood by and completely unraveled his disguise. In the last flicker of his consciousness, his gaze turned to Xiang Beifei. The young man watched him calmly, undisturbed, and in his hand, he astonishingly held the 1,000 Faces/Moon aimed at Lu Hong. Then he even waved at Chen Gang. Was he waving at him? Chen Gang glared resentfully at Xiang Beifei. Why was it in his hand? Chen Gang couldn't fathom it. He really couldn't fathom it, but he no longer had a chance to think about it. Darkness swiftly engulfed him. Lu Hong broke out in a cold sweat as he looked down at his chest, where a patch of mud was attached to his body like a piece of armor. Even though his reaction was fast, he still couldn't completely dodge Qin Gang's strike due to the close distance. However, at the critical moment, seemingly out of nowhere, a puddle of mud appeared in front of his chest, blocking Qin Gang's attack. Had it not been for this mud, his chest would likely have been torn open by Qin Gang, creating a terrible wound with unimaginable consequences. But, even with the mud blocking, he still felt a violent shock. His chest tightened, his blood roiled, and his throat was tinged with streaks of blood. Fortunately, he quickly steadied himself. But where did this thing come from? And how did it block Qin Gang's attack? Swish! The patch of mud fell off and fluttered in the air, flying back into Xiang Beifei's hands. Beifei, you! Lu Hong watched Xiang Beifei in disbelief. He never would have thought that the thing that saved his life came from Xiang Beifei, who had just awakened his system not long ago. Dad left it to protect me. Xiang Beifei flicked the breath soil, twisting it into a whip before it vanished from sight. Xiang Tianqing. Lu Hong came to a realization. So that was it. He knew that Xiang Beifei's father was a pioneer, an SR Great Awakener with extremely rare talents. It made sense for such a powerful martial artist to leave his son something for self-protection. But how could you? Lu Hong still didn't understand. Even if Xiang Tianqing had given Xiang Beifei something for self-protection, in order to use it to protect others, Beifei would need to have foreseen such an event and also possess extremely agile reflexes. How did this kid manage that? I didn't trust him, so I kept a precaution, Xiang Beifei said. You didn't trust him? Lu Hong was taken aback. After all, he was a martial artist at the Meridian opening stage, yet his vigilance in this matter was inferior to that of a youth who had only awakened his system recently. I was too naive, Lu Hong sighed. He had been deceived by Qin Gang last time. This time he was almost fooled again. He suddenly felt somewhat pitiful. You just didn't want to believe that he would kill you, Xiang Beifei said. Lu Hong gave a bitter smile once again. This youth saw things even more clearly than he did. Even at the moment when he defeated Qin Gang, he still hoped Qin Gang would turn back. But Qin Gang had already shredded the trust between them to pieces. The aftermath work was being handled by others. Lu Jiwei and the others were unharmed. They were merely knocked unconscious by Qin Gang and would probably wake up soon. Lu Hong didn't involve himself in these trivial matters. He just sat at the corner of the mall stairs, incessantly smoking away, staring blankly at the photo in his hands. Xiang Beifei sat beside him, called over by Lu Hong personally. He looked toward Lu Hong's system interface. Host, Lu Hong. S rank, investigation system. Realm, early meridian opening. A detection has been made of a special N-grade talent. Would you like to investigate? Lu Hong's investigation system issued a task. Xiang Beifei knew Lu Hong must have many questions in his mind, but luckily, he had already thought of how to handle Lu Hong's inquiries. Put everything on his dad, simply saying his dad taught him some recognition skills, and that's how he saw through Qin Gang's disguise. After finishing an entire cigarette, Lu Hong finally spoke faintly. Beifei, I heard you're just an N-grade awakener? Yes. Xiang Beifei nodded. Lu Hong looked up at Xiang Beifei, a strange light flickering in his eyes. I understand. After a pause, he said slowly, don't bother explaining. Just keep your secrets well. Lu Hong looked at the task just issued by his system and chose no. Xiang Beifei was slightly surprised. He could see Lu Hong's system tasks, too, and he hadn't expected Lu Hong to select no. He had thought up a plethora of explanations, but they proved unnecessary. This was unexpected. I once had the privilege of knowing your father. A man as formidable as your father is beyond my reach forever. Such a powerful figure's son would naturally be no ordinary person. I should have thought of this earlier, Lu Hong said with a smile. Xiang Beifei had intended to attribute everything to his so-called SR father, but he hadn't needed to. Lu Hong had figured it out on his own. This was fine too. I won't pry too much, As for today's events, if you wish to keep a low profile, I will keep your secret, Lu Hong offered. Everyone had secrets. If Beifei had secrets he preferred not to reveal, Lu Hong would naturally respect them without probing further. Thank you, Uncle Lu. Interacting with intelligent people was simple. Had it been anyone else, Xiang Beifei might not have intervened, but he trusted Lu Hong. Beifei, promise me one thing. What is it? Your father was a tremendous person engaged in the most noble of endeavors, someone I could only ever look up to. I know I'm not your father, and I'm not qualified to teach you anything, but you have just awakened to your system, and you'll have your own path to follow and confusions to face. However, no matter what system you've awakened to, I hope you understand one thing. Lu Hong stared at the photo of Chen Gang, his eyes brimming with endless desolation. What kind of person you become is your choice, not the system's. A flame appeared at his fingertips, igniting the photograph and turning the man within to a pile of black ash. It was as if he had burned away his past with that person. He had spent so long seeking strength and chasing after Lai Wuing in his quest for revenge for Chen Gang, only to discover that Chen Gang was Lai Wuing. This truth was hard for him to accept. He would have preferred Chen Gang to have died at the hands of Lai Wuing. At least that would have meant a death with dignity. The black ash drifted in the air, slowly dissolving. Xiang Beifei watched the ashes, contemplative. He had understood this principle long ago. Just as Principal Li Nanxing's Confucian Saint system and head teacher Yang Hua's Master Dao system were both education and nurturing systems. The paths each chose were completely different, performing tasks related to the system. But one's character had nothing to do with the system. I will remember your words, Uncle Lu, but I hope you will also heed a word of advice from me, Xiang Beifei said. What is it? Next time you encounter a criminal like Chen Gang who intends to be utterly vile, don't show mercy. If you must kill, kill. At the very least, leave him half dead, break his limbs, and ensure he cannot move. Otherwise, the one who suffers is yourself, said Xiang Beifei. Lu Hong was slightly stunned. He looked at Xiang Beifei. His expression showed profound surprise. The young man handled such matters with even more calmness and decisiveness than he did. Was this really just a high school student who had just awakened to his system? But on second thought, the young man's words were not wrong. Mercy should be based on the premise that one can protect oneself. If it hadn't been for Xiang Beifei seeing through Chen Gang, the one to die tonight would have been himself. I'll remember. You're right. I won't always be so lucky to have you save my life, like you did today, Lu Hong said, nodding. Then he sighed deeply, his eyes filled with a trace of bewilderment. Xiang Beifei thought for a moment, then added, I hope Uncle Lu won't be disheartened. There are many more Lai Wuings in the Western District that need Uncle Lu's attention. Chen Gang is definitely not the last criminal you need to deal with. Lu Hong was taken aback. In the past 6 months, his strength had surged as he pushed himself to the limit to avenge Chen Gang. When he discovered today that Chen Gang was Lai Wuing, there was a moment when his half-year's convictions suddenly collapsed, leaving him questioning the purpose of gaining strength. But Xiang Beifei's words were like an enlightening rush to his head, reviving his spirits. As an elder, he should have been the one comforting the younger, yet the roles had reversed tonight. This young man truly puzzled him. Thank you, Lu Hong said gratefully. The collapse of one belief could lead to the birth of another. Lai Wuing had become a thing of the past, but the future could be carried on by the next generation. If you have any requests in the future, just let me know. I'll do everything in my power to help you. Even if just for this child's sake, he must pull himself together. Of course, thank you, Uncle Lu, Beifei politely responded. To protect Xiang Beifei, Lu Hong had given him the azure light armor, inadvertently helping Xiang Beifei to illuminate a star. Xiang Beifei was simply repaying the favor. The incident at the shopping center didn't attract much attention, and everything was handled through standard procedures. Xiang Beifei didn't concern himself with these matters, as they had nothing to do with him. However, he was in a good mood, because Lu Hong said that once the procedures were completed, he would help him apply for the bounty. As the captain of the law enforcement team, Lu Hong was almost certain to handle it smoothly. By the time he returned, it was already evening. Walking on the road, the noisy crowd gave Xiang Beifei a feeling as if he were in a different world. He had been in this world for less than a month, feeling both familiar and alien to everything. In his previous world, he was just an orphan whose parents had died early, relying on relatives to get through school. That world was not friendly to him. Coming to this world hadn't improved his situation much either. But at least he had found a relative here. Everyone here carried their own system panel, bustling about for their system tasks. Their goals were clear, whether they were for money or fame or for strength or family, they all took their system tasks seriously. The system had become the driving force of their lives. Sometimes Xiang Beifei would ponder. In his previous world, where nobody had systems, what exactly was the difference from this one? Back in that world, weren't the adults driven by car loans, mortgages, family, and the need to support parents and children, all reasons for everyone to rise early, sleep late, and squeeze onto buses to go to work and earn a living? These burdens carried by adults were the tasks they had to accomplish in their lives. In this system world, these life tasks had been systematized into system tasks. Whether it was the previous world or this system world, everyone had to advance towards their goals. Essentially, there was no difference between the two worlds. Of course, the people here possessed much stronger abilities. Murder, destruction, battles, all were almost foreseeable. The incident between Lu Hong and Chen Gang had given Xiang Beifei a deeper impression of this world. Xiang Beifei was gradually adapting to the rhythm of this world. Those at the bottom struggled to complete system tasks for their livelihood. The powerful strove toward their own goals. He too needed to find his own way to survive. If he wanted to go further in the world of the system, he had to keep pace with this world. When he got home, it was already dark. Xiang Beifei prepared dinner, but Xiang Qingde hadn't come home yet. He kept the food warm, then returned to his room. He had received another system reward, which was the 1,000 Faces/Moon finishing move collected by Chen Gang. Although this finishing move was only aimed at Lu Hong, it possessed a spiritual power level equal to the early stage of meridian opening. Each star constellation actually included one ability. The reason for lighting them up one by one was because the spiritual power required to use the abilities contained within each star constellation varied. So Xiang Beifei had to master them step by step, and couldn't bite off more than he could chew. For example, one at the Qi controlling stage could only master abilities that could be executed at the Qi controlling stage. As he progressed, the abilities brought by lighting up star constellations became more powerful, and the required realms to master them also became higher. Woof woof woof. Xiaohe gave a suggestion. While at the Qi controlling stage, Xiang Beifei could light up 4 star constellations. So far, he had lit up 2 and acquired 2 abilities. He had 2 more abilities to acquire, which would only be accessible at the middle and later stages of the Qi controlling level. However, Chen Gang's 1,000 Faces/Moon was a spiritual power crystal from the early stage of meridian opening, which could be saved for later use to light up a star constellation at the meridian opening stage, thus not wasting it. Okay, let's tentatively set it like this for now, but if we can't find a suitable replacement, we'll just have to use it. Xiang Beifei agreed. The clash between Lu Hong and Chen Gang tonight enlightened him greatly. Only those in the meridian opening phase are truly powerful martial artists. Normally, those in the Qi controlling phase could even be considered ordinary people. Their combat abilities are clearly insufficient. The Jojo Alliance never lacks people in the Qi controlling phase. They can practically be found everywhere on the streets. Even high school teachers are just in the late stages of Qi controlling. Without stepping into the meridian opening phase, one simply cannot access true martial arts. In tonight's battle, Xiang Beifei couldn't intervene. At a critical moment, he relied on breath soil to save Lu Hong's life, but that was all he could do. Luckily, the breath soil possessed an indestructible defensive capability, able to block Chen Gang's attacks. But if Chen Gang's attacks had targeted Xiang Beifei, even with breath soil, he would have had a hard time avoiding them, and might not have even survived. Breath soil can only be said to be indestructible, but that doesn't mean it can dissipate that powerful force. Chun Gang's attack hitting the breath soil, the reverberations would still transmit through it to the body. Lu Hong's physical condition could withstand those reverberations because he was a master of the meridian opening phase, but Xiang Beifei definitely could not. This made him realize the necessity of improving his combat abilities and physical condition. Reflecting on the blazing fist Lu Hong displayed tonight, its explosive force left a deep impression on him. Every punch Lu Hong threw almost seemed to spin the air current, as if igniting the air itself. The fire can burn on the fists. This must be a cultivation technique given by Uncle Lu's system. Xiaohei, can I learn such a thing? Xiang Beifei inquired. Woof woof woof. Xiaohei rolled over plumply on the bed. Oh, I see. Xiang Beifei nodded thoughtfully. Any cultivation technique gifted by the system actually relies on one's own spiritual power to manifest. Xiaohei can turn system rewards obtained from others into spiritual power crystals because fundamentally, all systems aim to transform spiritual power into something absorbable by the body. And spiritual power is present in all cultivators' bodies. It is their source of power. What Xiaohei meant was, as long as the method is right, he could also use his own spiritual power to execute those abilities. This ability could be learned through learn by analogy. But the premise is that he first needs to grasp one thing, then he can quickly master other variations of it. That means, if he could learn Lu Hong's flame fist, next time he would be able to learn any technique involving the use of fire, not just limited to the flame fist. He could learn flame palm, flame foot, flame leg, sparking all around, fire 3 feet high, fire at one's heels, fire under one's butt. Just thinking about it is exhilarating. Xiang Beifei tried throwing a punch into the air. Aside from the whooshing sound of the air, no fire was generated. I need to ask Uncle Lu for guidance. I wonder if he would be willing to teach me. Xiang Beifei pondered. The next day, he eagerly called Lu Hong to express his intentions. You want to learn martial arts from me? Lu Hong seemed very surprised. Yes, I just awakened my system and want to learn techniques related to combat, said Xiang Beifei. Sure, if you want to learn, I naturally won't be stingy, but be prepared mentally. Learning martial arts requires great determination and the spirit to endure hardships. It's definitely not something you can master overnight. Lu Hong agreed readily. There was no way he could refuse the son of Xiang Tianqing wanting to learn martial arts from him. I understand. Xiang Beifei was aware of these things. Then come find me after class. I work night shifts, and if I'm not out on a call, I can teach you, Lu Hong said. Xiang Beifei was currently only in the early stages of qi controlling, and his power was not yet impressive. However, given the speed of his cultivation, he would definitely reach the mid-stage of qi controlling within 2 weeks. The speed of advancement through the realms is related to one's talent. For R-ranked awakened individuals like the class teacher Yang Hua, even after 7 or 8 years of awakening, he was still only in the late stage of qi controlling. Whereas S-ranked Lu Jiwei, having awakened for only a year, was already in the late stage of qi controlling. Xiang Beifei had been awakened for less than a month and was not in a hurry. Time at school passed quickly, and after school, once Xiang Beifei had explained the situation to his grandfather, he went to the Law Enforcement Bureau. The place they were located in was the western jurisdiction of Juzhou, where the City Guard Bureau was a conspicuous department. It was a place many ill-intended people steered clear of, with various powerful defenses. Xiang Beifei entered the City Guard Bureau and asked a small police officer with an R-ranked firearms system at the front desk, who directed him to the office of Lu Hong. However, he didn't find anyone there. The affairs department of the Guardians was noisy, with many law enforcement officers coming and going, some escorting suspects, others loudly making phone calls, and some carrying large stacks of documents. Xiang Beifei wondered if he should wait inside, but then he caught sight of another interrogation room on the other side and discovered that Lu Hong was inside, seemingly questioning a criminal. Through the glass window, Xiang Beifei could see the situation inside. The criminal appeared calm in the face of Lu Hong's questioning, not opening his mouth at all, and there was a disdainful expression in his eyes, showing no regard for these law enforcement officers. Host, Wan Qiu. R-ranked, reclamation system. Realm, mid-stage qi controlling. It was unclear what crimes Wan Qiu had committed, but the expression on Lu Hong's face looked somewhat gloomy. Lu Hong questioned for a long time but seemed unable to get anything out of him. He let an officer with an R-ranked interrogation system continue the questioning, then left the interrogation room. "Uncle Lu," Xiang Beifei greeted. "You've arrived." Lu Hong saw Xiang Beifei and showed a gentle smile, saying, "I've been busy this afternoon. Was dealing with some matters just now. It's kind of headache-inducing. Did I come at a bad time?" Xiang Beifei asked. "No. You cracked a big case yesterday. How could I not make time for you?" Lu Hong laughed, but he still looked a bit tired. The matter of Lai Wuying, which involved Qin Gang, hadn't allowed him to recover quickly. But he had not been knocked down and was still working today. "What about that person just now?" Xiang Beifei asked. "A robbery case," Lu Hong replied. "The bank vault was robbed. He must have been the one to get inside, but we don't know how he did it. We've caught him, but he's not willing to give up the whereabouts of his accomplices yet. It's a bit of a headache." "A robbery case? The bank vault? This guy has the reclamation system. Without thinking too much, it's clear he must have dug his way in from underground. You couldn't get it out of him? Don't you have specialized interrogators?" Xiang Beifei glanced again at the police officer who had taken over Lu Hong's interrogation work. That officer possessed the interrogation system, and by all accounts, he should be an expert at extracting information. "He's a mute. We asked him to write down where his accomplices are hiding, but unfortunately, he won't write," Lu Hong said, rubbing his forehead. "A mute?" Xiang Beifei suddenly understood. Even the most skillful interrogator is helpless against a mute. He moved forward a couple of steps, closer to the glass window, and scrutinized the other person's system tasks. The completed task list for Wan Qiu was all related to reclamation. Most of them were: "You have reclaimed 1 square meter of wasteland, reclamation value +1. You have reclaimed 1 square meter of mountain forest, reclamation value +1. These tasks seemed regular and nothing out of the ordinary, but among the recent list of tasks, there were some that were quite special. Spent 500 reclamation value points to upgrade reclamation tools. The current spade can now reclaim 3-dimensional space in reinforced concrete. You have reclaimed 50 cubic meters of space within the pier of Chenhe Bridge, reclamation value +10. This system task was completed 3 days ago. The Chenhe Bridge was a heavyweight bridge with incredibly thick and massive piers, and it was unexpected that someone actually had the ability to carve out a space inside one. Carving out a space, there would indeed be a perfect hiding spot. This guy's ability was quite impressive. According to his system description, this method of reclamation could disregard the volume of the reclamation target and determine the volume difference between the reclaimed space and the reclamation target proportionally. If he had enough system points, he could even carve out a 10 cubic meter space in a single ring. The legendary storage ring was said to be based on this kind of reclamation system, a type of black technology from the world of Xianxia stories. Uncle Lu, based on the clothing and the traces of dust on him, he must have been to Chenhe Bridge recently. You might try searching the piers of Chenhe Bridge. His accomplices could be hiding inside. I don't know if you have any echolocating devices to check which pier might be hollow, Xiang Beifei said. Lu Hong looked at Xiang Beifei in astonishment. "Is this true? Are you sure?" "I think there's no mistake," said Xiang Beifei. Lu Hong then turned to look at Wan Qiu. He himself had a powerful investigation system, but when he looked at the dust on Wan Qiu's clothes, he could only tell that the dust came from beneath the bank. He wanted to ask Xiang Beifei how he figured it out, but remembering what happened the day before, Lu Hong held back the question. "Wait a moment." With a wave of his hand, a delicately crafted black raven appeared in Lu Hong's hand. He patted the raven's head and said, "Search the piers of Chenhe Bridge." The raven darted into the sky, streaking a flash of light before vanishing. "This is my reconnaissance tool. It's very effective," Lu Hong explained. This tool came from his system. In fact, he had used it yesterday, but Chen Gang understood his investigative capabilities too well and knew how to counteract them. Lu Hong watched his system interface. As the Black Raven flew out to investigate, he could see everything happening outside through the Raven's eyes at any time on his system interface. The Black Raven was incredibly fast, and since Chenha Bridge was not far away, it almost instantly arrived and began scanning each pier built into the river. Soon, Lu Hong's expression became more and more astonished. The Raven's eyes had echolocating ability, and the scanning results showed that the inside of the piers were indeed hollow. Not only that, but the Raven's echolocation also detected 7 people lurking within one of the piers. They really are hidden here. Lu Hong was truly shocked and couldn't help but look towards Xiang Beifei, full of amazement. If it weren't for Xiang Beifei's suggestion, they might never have thought to look for people hiding inside the solid piers. Move out. Move out. Raven Squad, prepare to deploy to Chenha Bridge. Lu Hong swiftly summoned his subordinates. At his command, they were on the move immediately. Xiang Beifei stood still, watching Uncle Lu's retreating figure. The event from yesterday had dealt Uncle Lu a heavy blow. If he could help Uncle Lu take care of some things, he was willing to do so. But then he thought about it. Something didn't seem quite right. What had he come here to do again? Xiang Beifei sat in Lu Hong's office, observing the city's guardians coming and going outside. He liked to observe other people's systems. Those who were able to work in the law enforcement team were required to have at least late-stage chi controlling abilities, and they had to undergo multiple assessments. The talent of every Awakener started at R grade, with many being S grade. Most of the Awakeners here had systems related to crime, such as the R grade sniper system, the R grade negotiation system, the incredibly fast S grade Godspeed Guardian system, and there was even an old cop whose system was the S grade turn back to the shore system as he sat drinking tea. I heard your son will experience the awakening system next year. What's the most important thing in this world? Of course, it's family. Which father wouldn't be by their child's side on the day they awaken their system? If your son reached SSR next year, and you weren't there at his brightest moment, how sad he would be. The old cop was chatting with a handcuffed criminal. His tone was down-to-earth and heartfelt. Initially, the man was defiant, but somehow as they talked, his eyes reddened, and then he began to wipe away tears. Uncle, you are right, thank you. I never intended to commit fraud. I understand. No one's perfect. Who can be without fault? Uncle. Then I confess. Can I get out this time next year? Even if you can't get out, I must apply for a leave for you next year. How could you not be present when your own child experiences the awakening system? Okay. I confess. The old cop patted the criminal gently, smiling amicably. The man signed the confession with a guilty expression. Uncle Chong, thank you for your help, a law enforcement officer said to the old cop. It's nothing. I should be off now. The old cop stood up, crossed his hands behind his back, and leisurely walked away. You have persuaded a criminal to turn over a new leaf, virtue points plus 20. This old cop system belonged to the preaching and negotiating type, where he shared life philosophies and the dry contents of Tao Te Ching with criminals. However, many mentally unstable individuals couldn't resist his persuasion. The old cop, named Chang Shan, was a very amiable old man. It seemed his position wasn't very high, yet he managed to connect well with many people. However, he possessed late-stage meridian opening capabilities. A hidden master. So far, Xiang Beifei had met 2 of the most powerful cultivators. One was Principal Li Nanxing, and the other was this old cop. Xiang Beifei mused. If this old cop hadn't been working in the law enforcement team, he might have become a monk dedicating his life to universal salvation. Or perhaps he was a cop just to offer that salvation. Hey, Beifei, what are you doing here? Lu Jiwei entered the office and immediately saw Xiang Beifei, who was looking around from the window. I came to see Uncle Lu. Xiang Beifei had forgotten that Lu Jiwei came here for her internship every day after school. What do you need my dad for? Lu Jiwei casually threw her bag aside, then went to the water cooler, poured 2 cups of water, and handed one to Xiang Beifei. Something came up. He just left on a call. So I'm waiting for him here. Xiang Beifei took the cup of water. Lu Jiwei pulled over a swivel chair, spun around twice, then stopped and gazed at Xiang Beifei as if pondering something. Is there something on my face? Xiang Beifei asked hesitantly. What happened at the parking lot yesterday? I can't remember anything. I asked my dad, but he didn't provide details, only mentioning that with your help, they caught Lai Wuing. How did you manage that? Lu Jiwei inquired. I saw the suspect, told Uncle Lu, and Uncle Lu caught him. Xiang Beifei simply described the process. Whoosh! Lu Jiwei pulled her office chair forward, stopping right in front of Xiang Beifei, leaning forward so close their noses nearly touched. Her eyes narrowed suspiciously as she scrutinized Xiang Beifei. You're lying, Lu Jiwei declared. This was the first time Xiang Beifei had been so close to a girl. He could almost smell the faint fragrance from Lu Jiwei's hair. It smells like Seabreeze shampoo. The same brand as mine. How did you know I was lying? He leaned back a bit. Intuition. However, Lu Jiwei was relentless and leaned forward again, her long eyelashes almost flicking Xiang Beifei's hair. That's weird. Don't come too close, we aren't familiar. Xiang Beifei extended a finger and pressed it against Lu Jiwei's nose, pushing her back. Oh, you're getting shy now. Lu Jiwei rolled her eyes and swatted Xiang Beifei's hand away. Xiang Beifei smirked. Intuition tells me you're definitely hiding something from me. Lu Jiwei scratched her nose and said, You trust your intuition more than your logical reasoning skills? Xiang Beifei glanced at her system interface. An 11% reasoning accuracy still shining brightly. Lu Jiwei spun around in her chair and said, Yesterday when I got home, my dad looked strange. I remember him saying Lai Wuing was Chen Gang. But that doesn't make sense because Uncle Chen was clearly killed by Lai Wuing. Couldn't he have faked his death? Xiang Beifei asked. Faked his death? Lu Jiwei, touching her chin and pondering, said, Then how did you know Chen Gang was Lai Wuing? Lai Wuing knocked us all down. He appears and disappears like a ghost. Even Xuemo's cat is MIA. How did you spot him? Lucky guess. Bullshit. Lu Jiwei said, I don't believe your luck is that good. Did you awaken some kind of good fortune system? Xiang Beifei shrugged nonchalantly. Be honest, what are you doing here today? To record last night's case. Lu Jiwei asked. Xiang Beifei figured he couldn't keep it a secret any longer and said, I came here to learn some combat skills from Uncle Lu. Learning to fight? Were you motivated after seeing my dad destroy the parking lot fighting someone yesterday? Whatever you say, I can teach you. Lu Jiwei stood up, interlocked her fingers, and pressed down, her joints cracking loudly. Xiang Beifei looked at Lu Jiwei with disdain. Hey, what's with that look? My dad taught me my fighting skills, Lu Jiwei said, hands on her hips. Then you're really good. Xiang Beifei nodded perfunctorily. He was not here solely to learn combat skills. He mainly wanted to find out how Lu Hong managed to produce flames with his punches. Lu Jiwei was becoming frustrated. This jerk, still as troublesome as ever. Caught them good. They were indeed hiding under the bridge pier. Just then, a loud voice came from outside. Lu Hong had returned. His team efficiently surrounded the culprits at Xiaohe Bridge Pier, capturing the bank robbers all in one go, and the entire process took less than half an hour. He was finally back. Xiang Beifei stood up. Captain Lu is amazing. I thought this case would be really tricky, but Captain Lu solved it just like that. Captain Lu, how did you figure out they were hiding under the bridge pier? A wave of awe filled the air as Lu Hong directly raided the criminals' hideout, thrilling the entire enforcement team. It was a significant achievement. Lu Hong, while being praised, felt somewhat embarrassed. He knew that the credit didn't lie with him, but with Xiang Beifei. Sorry for the delay. You guys proceed with the necessary. Interrogate those who need interrogation, and keep busy. Lu Hong then remembered he had promised to teach Xiang Beifei some combat skills. But upon encountering the criminals, he had heatedly forgotten about it and hurried to his office. I'm back. Sorry, I forgot, Lu Hong said with a smile. Dad, you're so cool. You solved the robbery case so quickly? How did you figure it out? Lu Jiwei excitedly looked at her father. With the help of a noble person, without him, I really might not have spotted the loophole, Lu Hong said with a smile. Was it Shuemo? I thought he took a leave. Not Shuemo, it was Beifei. Lu Hong looked at Xiang Beifei, thoroughly impressed by him now. This kid truly was extraordinary. He didn't even need to face the suspect for an interrogation or visit the scene. Just a quick glance from afar was all it had taken. He had actually managed to catch one of Wan Qiu's accomplices. This level of investigative ability was even more potent than his own system. Beifei? Lu Jiwei turned her head in confusion and looked at Xiang Beifei. Did he spot the criminal suspect again? He figured it out with reasoning. Lu Hong explained. Beifei has a very keen sense for reasoning. He just took one look and analyzed where that guy's accomplice was hiding. Xiao Wei, you really ought to learn this reasoning ability from Beifei. Lu Jiwei turned her head and sized up Xiang Beifei again. How is that possible? Didn't he just awaken his system? Is he that impressive? Lu Hong knocked on Lu Jiwei's head. How many times have I told you? You should never underestimate anyone. Beifei has a gift for this. He's much better than you at it. Dad, I'm not underestimating him. I just think, never mind. Forget I said anything. Lu Jiwei muttered a bit but didn't finish her sentence, feeling that if she continued, she might just get another knock on the head from her dad, so she wisely kept quiet. However, she was becoming more and more curious about Xiang Beifei. Yesterday, their team's prophecy expert Shuemo had failed to locate Lai Wuying, who nearly took down the entire enforcement team. Yet, it was only Xiang Beifei who had noticed Lai Wuying's traces and had helped her dad capture him. Today, Xiang Beifei had just arrived at the enforcement team, and before even warming his seat, he had helped her dad solve another case? Was this guy's ability to solve cases really that strong? Beifei, have you ever considered being a city guardian here? With your personality and reasoning skills, you'd be perfectly suited for the job. Lu Hong looked at Xiang Beifei with hopeful eyes. I was just lucky. There you go being modest again, Lu Hong said. Uncle Lu, I want to learn some combat skills, Xiang Beifei said. Right. Look at my memory, almost forgot. Come on, I'll take you to the training room. Lu Hong, hearing Xiang Beifei express such an interest, was also pleased. If Xiang Beifei could really end up working here, their jurisdiction's case-solving rate would probably skyrocket. Beifei fell silent for a moment, then turned to look at Wan Qiu, who possessed the reclamation system, and reminded, Uncle Lu, even if you catch them, you must be careful. This person is not so simple. Don't worry, they are watching. We have special means of care here, and won't give him a chance to escape, Lu Hong said. Beifei thought for a while and then said nothing more. The city guard squad had a dedicated training room for combat, specifically for the use of the guards. Lu Hong brought Beifei to a bright room with nothing around. It was a pure fighting arena. Lu Hong took Beifei to change clothes, and Lu Jiwei, having nothing else to do, followed them in. Combat skills are very important. You can learn this without having to cultivate the spiritual power. In my eyes, the essence of fighting is all about speed, Lu Hong said as he clenched and then opened his fist, with a faint flow of air swirling around his fingertips. Beifei, you've just awakened your system less than a month ago, so you probably haven't cultivated any spiritual power yet, have you? Lu Hong didn't yet know Beifei's specific situation, as Beifei had not taken any action that day. Dad, how could he have cultivated spiritual power so quickly? He's not an S-rank, Lu Jiwei muttered. S-rank awakeners find it simple to break through to the chi-controlling phase, but she knew that Beifei was an N-rank awakener, and for N-rank awakeners it would take at least half a year to possibly step into the chi-controlling phase. Beifei said, regarding that, well, I barely. He stretched out his finger and lightly clenched it twice, a white light pulsing at his fingertips. What? You've cultivated spiritual power already? Lu Jiwei was very surprised. That's not right. You just awakened as an N rank. How could it be so fast? Lu Jiwei found it incredible. Lu Hong was also surprised. After thinking for a moment, he realized that Beifei was far from being as simple as an N level, and he became more certain about Beifei hiding his own talent. Although he was very curious about this young man, considering the identity of Tianqing's son, he didn't ask further but simply said, "That makes it much more convenient." Meanwhile, Lu Jiwei curiously asked, "How did you break through to the qi-controlling phase?" After finishing, upon seeing her father ready to scold her, she quickly added, "Just to be clear, I mean no disrespect. The textbooks clearly state what type of system has what kind of learning progress, and you are clearly an N-rank awakener. Jiwei, don't be rude. Looks can be deceiving. To become strong, both talent and diligence are important. Have you forgotten our senior officer from Liangzhou, Shang Tianxiong? He's an N-rank system awakener. Just look at his accomplishments." Lu Hong interjected. "But he didn't reach the qi-controlling phase in just 1 month either." Lu Jiwei muttered. "All right, no more questions. We are here to train today. Focus." Lu Hong did not allow his daughter to continue. He continued, "I have my own set of unique boxing techniques, which I generally don't teach others, mainly because everyone's system attributes differ, and what works for me might not work for others. I've only taught Jiwei. Whether it suits you, you'll have to see for yourself." Lu Hong snapped his fingers, and suddenly, a punching bag appeared in the middle of the room. This was a technologically simulated punching bag, but it was in no way different from a real one. When sparring with someone, you must be alert in all directions, mindful of attacks coming from any direction at any time, while ensuring that the strength in your arms matches the speed of your eyes. Your focus must always be on your own fists," Lu Hong said as he threw a punch forward. His fist wind howled, igniting flames in the air in the instant it was thrown. Bang! Lu Hong's fist had not even touched the punching bag, yet the bag was directly blasted into pieces. Beifei's eyes brightened. That punch was very powerful. This flame is not an attribute enhanced by the system, but one that I have ignited through burning my spiritual power. I've named it Rapid Flame. Distribute your spiritual power over your fist, and as long as the speed of your punch is fast enough, the air will friction violently with the spiritual power and directly ignite it. This kind of attack is quite overbearing but not easy to master. Firstly, you need to control your spiritual power well, not allowing it to diffuse too much or too little. Otherwise, the air will carry away your spiritual power, and no combustion will occur. After you've managed to ignite your spiritual power, you must learn to control the flames and compress the flames within a certain area. If you can't compress the flames, then their effect will merely be for show, burning for a bit and then disappearing, completely meaningless. To make the flames lethal, you must use your own spiritual power to lead the burning flames. Then compress them on your fist, creating a high temperature point near your fist. When you hit your opponent, instantly detonate the flames. The high temperature will generate a fierce tearing force, causing fatal damage to your opponent. Lu Hong detailed the key points of the rapid flame technique to Xiang Beifei and demonstrated it a few times as well. Every time Lu Hong threw a punch, the air around seemed to twist. At first, you'll be unfamiliar with controlling spiritual power and will need to swing your fist over a certain distance to ignite the spiritual power. Once you've mastered the use of spiritual power, you won't even need to swing your fist. Just a slight movement will ignite your spiritual power. Like this. Lu Hong extended his index finger and gently pressed down. The movement was minuscule, but flames danced at the tip of his finger and burst forth with a tremendously powerful jet of flame, piercing through the sandbag in front of him. Releasing spiritual power requires only one finger, with the force generated comparable to a gun. Don't think that it just looks like my finger bent a bit. In reality, my finger is vibrating at extreme speeds, something you are probably unable to see with your current realm, Lu Hong explained. So that's how it is. Xiang Beifei covered his fist with his own spiritual power and began to attempt to ignite it. The process was indeed not so easy to grasp, mainly because his punching speed wasn't fast enough to ignite the spiritual power. But Xiang Beifei didn't lose heart. He started to swing his fists at the sandbag. With every punch, he adjusted the speed of his punch, striving to deliver sufficient explosive force. Lu Hong stood by patiently, continuously helping Xiang Beifei correct his punching posture. 2 hours had passed, and Xiang Beifei was still tirelessly practicing his punches. His muscles ached, but fortunately, Lu Hong used his own system to exchange for a muscle soreness recovery ointment to help Xiang Beifei recover from the muscle damage. Dad, you're really generous with him. That stuff must have cost you quite a few system points, right? Lu Jiwei muttered. Lu Hong, looking at Xiang Beifei not far away, said, "It doesn't matter how much it consumes. If it weren't for Beifei yesterday, I probably would have lost my life." Lu Jiwei was taken aback. "What? Why haven't you told me about this? What exactly happened yesterday? How did Beifei save you?" Lu Hong shook his head slightly. "You don't need to ask about that. Just remember, Beifei is not an ordinary person. In the future, don't always criticize his N-rank system. Even if he is an N-rank talent, in my view, his future achievements will definitely not be inferior to an S-rank. Or perhaps, he is inherently an SR-rank talent. Dad, do you really think so highly of him?" Lu Jiwei was quite astonished at her father's evaluation of Xiang Beifei. She glanced over at Xiang Beifei, who was focused on practicing his punches, and found it incredible. Because Lu Hong had never given such a high appraisal to any system awakener with an N-rank system before. Lu Hong nodded slightly. "He has that potential in him. I believe in him. By the way, in the future, if he needs help, give him a hand. Don't go looking for trouble with him without a good reason." "I haven't been troubling him." Lu Jiwei pursed her lips, but the look in her eyes at Xiang Beifei turned even more puzzled. Her eyes rolled around, seemingly deep in thought. "It's best not to trouble him. Otherwise, the trouble might come hunting you." Lu Hong shook his head slightly, knowing his daughter's temperament well. Having awakened an S-level talent and been accepted into Liangzhou University, she was extremely proud and competitive. If she knew someone was that outstanding, she'd definitely be discontent. The reason Lu Hong thought highly of Xiang Beifei was because of what happened at the mall yesterday. After returning home yesterday, he had carefully reviewed the events, growing increasingly horrified the more he thought about them. Chun Gang had shown him no mercy, striking with extreme speed, and Lu had nearly been seriously injured due to his carelessness. Yet, the patch of mud had arrived just in time, and even he hadn't noticed when it had covered him. If that mud had not been there to protect him, but to kill him instead, he wouldn't have stood a chance of blocking it. Most importantly, Chun Gang's expression before he died was clearly one of shock, as if something had happened that he hadn't anticipated. His investigation system could analyze various details. Lu Hong speculated that Chen Gang's final strike had been prepared with the certainty that it would kill him, but that strike had been as if the rug had been pulled out from under it, losing the power it should have had. Otherwise Chen Gang wouldn't have looked so surprised before his death. This made him wonder whether Xiang Beifei really was just a kid who had recently awakened his system. After all, just a few days ago, when Xiang Beifei was attacked by a demon dog, he emerged unscathed. This was simply not something a child who had just awakened his system could have managed. However, this morning Xiang Beifei had called, saying he wanted to learn combat skills from him, which made Lu think he might be overthinking things. He had also seen for himself just now, Xiang Beifei was indeed only at the early stages of qi controlling. Lu Hong's current understanding was that Xiang Beifei was definitely not as simple as an N-level system. Perhaps like his father, Xiang Tianxing, he owned an SR system but chose not to reveal it. If it was an SR system, then everything would make sense. To know how to deal with demon dogs, to discern Lai Wuying, whom even the S-level prophet Shui Mo hadn't identified, to deduce that Lai Wuying was in fact Qin Gang, let alone just now when he casually glimpsed and identified Wan Qiu's accomplice. It wasn't unusual for an SR awakener to do these things. But what piqued his curiosity was, if Beifei had an SR system, supposedly endowed with powerful cultivation methods, why would he come to him to learn? Could it be that he awakened a literary Dao system but wanted to follow the martial path like his father? Lu Hong pondered to himself. Xiang Tianxing was a pioneer. Could it be that the kid intended to emulate his father and grow up to be a pioneer too? but sadly awakened a literary Tao system, which meant his system couldn't provide him with the means to cultivate, so that's why he had come to him? Yes, that was the only explanation. Having figured this out, Lu Hong felt as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Regardless, since you've chosen to trust me, I can't let you down, Lu Hong thought to himself. He did not know Xiang Tianqing well. Tianqing was a pioneer who often dealt with matters even more dangerous than Lu Hong's cases. Tianqing had once done him a great favor, and they got along well, so whenever Tianqing came back, they would sometimes get together with their kids. He had a great respect for pioneers like Xiang Tianqing. Though Tianqing was now gone due to an accident, if Tianqing's son wanted to pursue the martial path, Lu felt it was his duty to help. Xiang Beifei didn't know what Lu Hong was thinking. He was still tirelessly swinging his fists. Until now, he had thrown at least over 6,000 punches. He was very grateful that Lu Hong used the system rewards to help eliminate the wear on his muscles. Otherwise, he'd probably have collapsed from exhaustion long ago. Though learn by analogy endowed him with a strong learning ability, for it to take effect, the prerequisite was to master an ability. Then he could learn other abilities in the same category. Therefore, he had to master Rapid Flame on his own. Xiang Beifei practiced until midnight. Had Grandpa not called, he might have forgotten about the time altogether. Xiao Wei, it's so late you send him home, Lu Hong said. Dad, I'm a girl, you know? Since when does a girl send a boy home? Lu Jiwei stared at her own father with wide eyes. You're always in such a hurry. Where's the resemblance to a girl? Lu Hong waved his hand dismissively. In his eyes, his daughter, who liked to fight, was no different from any boy. Now that she'd reached the late stages of chi controlling, as long as she didn't encounter a meridian opening practitioner like Chen Gang, basically no one could harm her. It wasn't easy to encounter a meridian opening practitioner in this area anyway. Aren't you afraid that I, a young girl, might run into bad people while walking at night? Lu Jiwei batted her large eyes, looking pitiful. Lu Hong looked her over and said, ordinary bad people should be more afraid of running into you. Lu Jiwei. Lu Hong patted his head and said, I almost forgot. Beifei, your azure light armor was damaged yesterday. I'll give you another piece. Protect yourself well. He redeemed another piece of azure light armor with 500 investigation value and pressed it onto Xiang Beifei's body. Uncle Lu, this. Xiang Beifei hadn't expected Lu Hong to give him another piece of azure light armor. Xiang Beifei was still at the beginning stages of chi controlling. The azure light armor was a system item for the intermediate stages of chi controlling, and it could still be used to light up the next star position. This is a chi replenishing pill. It can speed up the recovery of spiritual power. You train too hard, which is a big burden on the body. Although it's good to practice diligently, you can't be too hasty. Take it slow. Lu Hong spent another 500 system points to exchange for a pill. Uncle Lu, this is too extravagant, Xiang Beifei said. Don't mention it. Yesterday you helped me catch Lai Wuying, and last night you helped me solve a case. Some things can't be compared to these little items, Lu Hong said generously with a wave of his hand. Xiang Beifei looked at Lu Hong's system interface. Catching Lai Wuying yesterday wasn't mainly credited to Lu Hong, so even though it was a big case, it only added 800 investigation value to Lu Hong. Catching the bank robbery accomplice at night only added 100 investigation value. He exchanged 2 system items for Xiang Beifei, plus the azure light armor that Xiang Beifei melted, and the muscle regenerating paste redeemed just now for 100 points, which meant Lu Hong was down 700 system points. But Lu Hong wasn't a person to fuss over every little thing. The matter with Lai Wuying meant far more to him than a mere 700 system points. Thank you. Xiang Beifei didn't make a fuss. He was still only in the chi controlling stage, strictly speaking not even a proper Taoist practitioner yet, lacking in strength. He knew he needed these. Accept them and then remember the favor. Dad, you're really generous. Lu Jiwei shrugged her shoulders. There's nothing to be generous about. Xiao Wei, since you don't have any work here and it's so late, you should go home to sleep. It just so happens you're going the same way as Beifei. Don't worry, you will be very safe walking at night. Lu Hong was still in a hurry to go back and write the case report. After saying that, he left. Wait. What do you mean I'll be very safe walking at night? Lu Jiwei huffed and puffed behind him, inquiring Dao. Xiang Beifei wiped off his sweat, strapped on his backpack and said, "You don't need to walk me home. I know the way." Too late. Lu Jiwei made a scary face, grabbed Xiang Beifei's backpack, and began dragging him outside. "My dad asked me to be a guardian of the grass. I have to protect this little blade of grass from being trampled." The two walked on the road. It was already late at night, with few pedestrians around, and the occasional late worker hurried past without giving them a second glance. Damn it, they actually say I'm safer walking at night. Do I really look that safe? Lu Jiwei grumbled all the way, growing more discontented by the minute, throwing a few punches at the air with a bayu. I don't think Uncle Lu meant it that way. Xiang Beifei turned his head to look at the crow flying above them, which had been following them all along. Lu Hong certainly wouldn't let his daughter walk alone at night, so he deployed his investigative crow. If anything happened, the crow would notify him immediately and Lu Hong could be there in less than a minute. When he spoke of safety, he meant the crow. But Lu Jiwei wasn't paying attention to the crow. Then what does it mean? I'm his own daughter after all, and he says I'm safer walking at night. Lu Jiwei kept touching her own face and then turned to glare at Xiang Beifei. Hey, Beifei, how do I look? Not bad. Out of 10, how much would you give? Xiang Beifei was encountering a girl asking him to rate her for the first time. Isn't this a topic that should be discussed among guys? Then let's go with 10. He gave an honest perfect score to avoid listening to complaints all the way. Then why do they say I'm safer walking at night? Forget it, you definitely won't tell the truth. Lu Jiwei stood there, hands on hips, clearly upset. Just then, a young man with a briefcase came walking towards them. Lu Jiwei grabbed the man, shoved him against a wall, and punched the brick beside his ear with a forceful wall bang, asking brashly, "Hey, I want to ask you something. Do you think I look safe?" The young man was walking along just fine when suddenly he was pressed against the wall with the brick beside his ear cracking from the impact, causing him to start screaming, "Help! Help! I'm being robbed! What are you shouting for? I'm a city guardian." Lu Jiwei gave the man a stern look. "You're a city guardian? But I haven't done anything. I'm just a programmer, law-abiding, working a 9-to-9-6 schedule. The company squeezes me dry. I've been working overtime till now, haven't had time to misbehave." The young man, thinking he was in big trouble, quickly explained with a mournful face. He was only mid-stage in chi controlling, with the awakening of the N-level coder system, specializing in typing rather than fighting. Cut the crap, a guardian is on a case. Answer my question. Cooperate with the investigation. What? What question? If you were a bad guy, would you try anything with me? The young man was so confused by the question that he couldn't even respond. Such an idiot. Xiang Beifei held his forehead, feeling a bit overwhelmed. With your personality, anyone would feel safe. Xiang Beifei quickly dragged Lu Jiwei away to prevent her from making more foolish mistakes. Lu Jiwei hummed and hawed as she escorted Xiang Beifei to his family's doorstep. "You're back? So late." Xiang Qingde had been waiting for him to come home and only relaxed when he saw Xiang Beifei at the door. "Hello, Grandpa Xiang." Lu Jiwei greeted him cheerfully. Xiao Wei, what brings you here?" Xiang Qingde asked in surprise. "My dad sent me to make sure Beifei got home safely. You don't need to worry." "Then come in and sit down for a bit," Xiang Qingde hurriedly said. "No, I have to get home myself. I have to catch the early bus tomorrow to go back to school," Lu Jiwei said. "It's so late, and it's not safe for a girl to go home alone. I'll take you back," he insisted. Xiang Qingde hurried to grab a flashlight and a coat, ready to escort Lu Jiwei home. "Look at that, now that's what I call an elder." Lu Jiwei complained about her father again, then waved her hand with a carefree smile. "No need, Grandpa Xiang. I can manage on my own." "How can that be, all right? It's so late, and a pretty girl like you walking alone at night is not safe. It would be terrible if anything happened," Xiang Qingde said. Being complimented on her looks moved Lu Jiwei deeply. Ah, Grandpa Xiang, your insight is as sharp as ever. She happily rubbed her face, feeling very pleased. Don't worry, Grandpa Xiang. I'm not that easy to mess with. If I can't beat them, I'll just use the teleportation talisman my mom gave me to escape. It's a simple matter, she assured him. The teleportation talisman was a wonderful thing. An item exchanged through the system, a life-saving divine artifact given by her mother to her daughter. Within a certain distance, if she faced danger, the teleportation talisman could instantly pull Lu Jiwei to her mother's side. That was why Lu Hong was at ease letting Lu Jiwei head home alone. Then you still don't understand what it means to be safe when walking at night? Xiang Beifei pursed his lips. Lu Jiwei stuck out her tongue in a mocking face. Be careful on the way, Xiang Beifei said. Got it, good night. Lu Jiwei soon disappeared into the night. Xiang Qingde closed the door and then asked Xiang Beifei, are you following Lu Hong to learn fighting skills? Aiming for the martial path in the future? Yes. He didn't hide it. For Xiang Beifei, the essence of this world was still about the supremacy of the martial path. The outside world was full of desolate beasts that would launch attacks on human settlements from time to time. Martial artists held a higher status compared to literary Taoists. Xiang Qingde sighed. What's the matter, Grandpa? Xiang Beifei wondered. Xiang Qingde patted Xiang Beifei's shoulder and shook his head. Nothing. If this is the path you've chosen, I naturally have to support you. But, he trailed off, hesitating. Is it because of my dad? Xiang Beifei asked. Xiang Qingde sighed. His own son had chosen the martial path, became a pioneer, and never returned. As a father, how could he not be worried? Grandpa, rest assured, I know my limits, Xiang Beifei said with a smile. I'll look after myself, and I will also take good care of you in the future. I won't be reckless. Not being reckless is good. Go to bed, Xiang Qingde said. Xiang Beifei washed his face and then went back to his bedroom. Xiang Qingde picked up the photo frame on the table and looked at the family portrait. He wiped the dust from the frame and murmured, now Xiaofei is choosing the martial path. If he encounters that same incident in the future, what will I do? He glanced at his own system. On the system interface, there was nothing but snowflakes, no data at all. Xiang Beifei returned to his room and fell asleep immediately, having just stepped into the realm of qi controlling. His body didn't have much spiritual power, and after a whole night of training, he was greatly drained of energy. But after sleeping through the night, he quickly became as lively as a dragon again. After eating, Xiang Beifei called for Xiaohe, ready to go to school. But he was surprised to discover that Xiaohe was holding a bunch of odd and curious items, including a map, a hammer, a book, a tree sapling, and even a toilet brush. Where did all this stuff come from? Xiang Beifei asked in astonishment. Woof, woof, woof. Xiaohe jumped around excitedly. Xiang Beifei suddenly understood. Given his constitution, he could have been unwittingly drawn into other people's quests just by walking on the road. For example, the bus driver's old driver system, after giving Xiang Beifei a ride, his system prompted, you gave Xiang Beifei a ride, driving proficiency +1. Then, after completing his quest, the rewards would go to himself. And usually, Xiang Beifei wasn't even aware of this. He picked up the toilet brush and made some gestures with it, wondering whose system reward this could be from and why they would redeem a toilet brush of all things. Was it to enhance the cleanliness of the toilet while scrubbing? He then looked at a slipper. Why was this brand new slipper only one? Could they not afford the other? Send these things back. Life is tough for everyone. Rewards involving people who bear us no grudges, we shouldn't take, he said. Xiang Beifei waved his hand dismissively. Most of these rewards came from lower-level people's N-grade systems. The rewards of an N-grade system were often frustrating, with all sorts of bizarre quests, some of which were simply not feasible for a normal person. Those N-grade awakeners had low strength, and it might take them several years to step into the qi-controlling realm. They relied on completing quests to make ends meet. If they lost their rewards, it was adding insult to injury. Since those rewards were of no use to himself and could not help him light up his stars, there was no need to disrupt others' lives. Xiaohei had been gnawing on a ball, but upon hearing Xiang Beifei's words, his tail wagged twice, and he mailed all the items back. The end of high school life was approaching fast, and students who had just awakened their systems were putting aside their quests to focus on preparing for college entrance exams. No matter how urgent the system quests were, they couldn't compare to the importance of the exams. Getting into a good university was crucial. Different levels of universities offered different conditions for completing quests. The better the university, the more comprehensive the facilities, and the more advantageous for completing system quests. All the students were busy except for Xiang Beifei. With his learn by analogy skill, he only needed to understand one type of problem, and then he could easily solve the same type next time he encountered it. He had essentially mastered all the types of exam questions, giving him more time to train himself. During breaks, he would go to a deserted place and continue practicing rapid flame. Following Lu Hong's instructions, Xiang Beifei covered his fists with spiritual power and swung them punch after punch. With each punch, he paid attention to the range of his spiritual power, and gradually he got the hang of it. When he had thrown over 10,000 punches, his fists finally produced a burst of explosive sound, with tiny sparks shooting out. "I did it!" Xiang Beifei revealed a smile. Although it was just a few sparks, and not a burst of flames like Lu Hong could produce, the mere fact he created sparks with spiritual power proved he had entered the threshold. Xiang Beifei approached a tree and fiercely swung a punch towards it. Bang! A dull sound rang out. The bark was indented with his fist print, and around the edges of the imprint, there were signs of slight charring. "It's not enough. Uncle Lu can pierce through a sandbag with just one finger." Xiang Beifei was not satisfied with this result. To create an imprint, he had to make contact with the bark with his fist. If it was Lu Hong, he could just blast the tree to smithereens from a distance. After school that afternoon, he ran off to the law enforcement team as usual. The training room of the law enforcement team was quite special, equipped with various simulated training devices that could help one concentrate and greatly increase training efficiency. He also needed to consult Lu Hong about some details. Creating sparks and producing flames were not the same concept. Lu Hong was not in the office, and without his pass, Xiang Beifei was unable to access the training room, which was exclusively for the guardians. Xiang Beifei, being an outsider, could not enter or exit at will. He was waiting for Lu Hong to return, but he didn't have to wait long before Lu Jiwei leisurely came over. "How's your arm?" Lu Jiwei asked. "Not bad, with Uncle Lu's help. It's recovering well," Xiang Beifei said. Lu Jiwei sat in her father's office chair, propped her chin up with her hand and looked at Xiang Beifei, asking, "My dad praised your deductive abilities again today, told me to learn more from you. Are your deduction skills really that good?" "Just lucky," Xiang Beifei said. "Nobody's that lucky," Lu Jiwei said. "Don't be so modest. Let me test you. What did that bald man do to get caught?" Lu Jiwei pointed to a bald man sitting outside on a bench waiting for interrogation. She knew about this bald man since she had just gotten the information when she arrived and saw a law enforcement officer bringing him in. The law enforcement officer had not yet documented it, so Xiang Beifei definitely didn't know these details. It was a good opportunity to test him. "I don't know," Xiang Beifei said. "You didn't even look." Lu Jiwei snorted and quickly smirked. "I know what you're waiting for my dad to do. You want to go to the training room but don't have a pass, right? My dad just went out on a call, no telling when he'll be back. He called me, told me to take you in. Here's the deal, if you get the deduction right, I'll take you to the training room. How about that?" "That's boring." "Right. I am just bored. Looking for something to do." Lu Jiwei held a door card, tapping on the desk, looking smugly at Xiang Beifei. With leverage in her hand, she felt more confident. Xiang Beifei turned his head and looked at the bald man. The bald man seemed very honest in appearance. He was just slightly over 40 years old. Xiang Beifei noted that his little fingernail was sharp and long. Xiang Beifei glanced at the bald man's system interface. "Host, LV he. Our grade, Lock-free system. Realm, mid-chi controlling. In the system's latest task list, a line of completed tasks was displayed. You have unlocked Zhu Lai's phone facial recognition lock. Lock value +10. You have unlocked Zhao Ming's phone password lock. Lock value +10. You have unlocked Lu Jia's bank password lock. Lock value +10. You have unlocked Mr. Lu's front door lock. Lock value +1. You have unlocked Miss Wang's bathroom lock. Lock value +1. Xiang Beifei grew more amazed as he read. This guy's abilities were remarkable. His system could even crack facial payment security. Being caught here with a lock-free system, he certainly used his system's capabilities for illegal activities. This man's tasks mostly involved unlocking people's doors. He likely lived as a locksmith normally. Besides the door lock, he had also unlocked at least 100 cell phones. And Xiang Beifei even saw that he had managed to open the company's Class B safe as well. Do you want to go over and interrogate him a bit? Can you tell anything just by looking like this? Seeing Xiang Beifei just staring at the man from a distance, Lu Jiwei suggested. True deduction can be made from analyzing a person's dressing habits to infer their capabilities. Xiang Beifei replied casually, As for this person, I was wondering if he was recently involved in some illegal profit-making related to cell phones, like cracking people's passwords and then transferring money, committing fraud and stuff. Lu Jiwei's eyes widened. My gosh, how did you figure that out? She looked at LV He, then back at Xiang Beifei. She hadn't dropped any hints just now, and Xiang Beifei hadn't even approached to ask anything. Just sized the man up for a minute, and he figured it out. Lu Jiwei couldn't be more astonished. Luck? Xiang Beifei turned his head back and said, Don't think I can be fooled that easily. Lu Jiwei suddenly stood up and rolled her chair towards Xiang Beifei with a rumble, stopping deftly in front of him. If it wasn't for that bald guy being too dumb to know that transfers are done under real names, we wouldn't have caught him. Tell me, how did you confirm it just by one look? Give me the door card, Xiang Beifei said. Wait, considering I was the messenger last night, teach me how to discern these things. Lu Jiwei's face was full of eagerness. The 11% deduction accuracy rate had troubled her for a year. This requires intuition, Xiang Beifei casually remarked. I have great intuition. Lu Jiwei pointed at her forehead. Xiang Beifei looked at Lu Jiwei expressionlessly. She chuckled awkwardly, then said, My dad says, deductive skills need to be learned from details, but I tend to overlook them easily. Just tell me how to observe the details. In exchange, I'll stand up for you if anyone bullies you in the future. Lu Jiwei rubbed her fists together, which made crunching noises. All right then. Xiang Beifei considered for a moment, then made something up. See his pinky nail? That's a sign of the legendary Lu Ban axe gate, adept with various mechanisms. That nail connects to the system. Ordinary locks open with just a touch. Lu Jiwei immediately pulled out a notebook and began jotting down notes. What are you doing? Xiang Beifei asked in confusion. Taking notes, Lu Jiwei said earnestly. I need to record all knowledge related to deduction in my life to improve my reasoning skills. Oh, pretty diligent. But why so diligent when the deductive abilities are still so poor? What else? What else? Tell me, Lu Jiwei urged. You see his fingers are incredibly slender, each one excessively long. Only someone who regularly performs precise operations would have such hands. I think his fingerprints must also not be fixed, but capable of freely adjusting to mimic others' fingerprints. Also, his ears are unusually large, larger than ordinary people, like a hearing aid, and sometimes they even move. This type of ear shape helps to block out external sounds, focusing on listening to the sounds of mechanisms within safes. If you look closer, you would notice that his facial features and skin are not fixed but move slightly within a small range. He adjusts his facial contours and irises based on the principles of facial recognition and iris recognition. Xiang Beifei rambled on. Lu Jiwei earnestly wrote down every word he said. One dared to bluff. The other dared to believe. Lu Jiwei was taking notes and then asked, So, you're basing your judgment that he committed this crime just on these facts? With these unlocking abilities and the fact that he was brought to the law enforcement squad, what other reason could there be for his actions besides doing something similar to what's been described? Xiang Beifei countered. Oh, deducing the cause from the result. I've studied that. Lu Jiwei suddenly realized and quickly bent down to take more notes. You do have a strong desire to learn. Xiang Beifei observed the diligent Lu Jiwei. Although this guy was careless and sometimes silly, he still had a strong desire to improve himself. I want to be a city guardian, so I need to learn all these skills, Lu Jiwei said earnestly, then stood up, grabbed her notebook, and ran towards the bald man. Wait, I didn't ask clearly just now. I need to check if what you said is correct. 5 minutes later, Lu Jiwei ran back, looking at Xiang Beifei with a face full of amazement. I believe you. Her eyes were sparkling as she looked at Xiang Beifei as if viewing a rare treasure. Xiang Beifei just shrugged noncommittally. He had indeed exaggerated a bit, but in fact, he had scraped this information from the lock-free system interface. Just by seeing which aspects of abilities the bald man used his system value to enhance, one could roughly speculate his specialties. For example, spent 300 lock points to enhance his hearing, initially acquiring echolocation abilities. This was his enhanced hearing capability. Another example, spent 500 lock points to enhance his fingerprint bioelectricity, able to connect directly with electronic devices. Searching the fingerprint database speed +1, it shows his fingerprints could vary based on the fingerprints in the database search. Lu Jiwei didn't know these, but because Xiang Beifei described them nearly accurately, it left her completely stunned. Xiao Wei, so you were here. At this moment, a suave young man walked in through the door. This man appeared to be about the same age as Lu Jiwei, dressed in a neat casual outfit. His hair parted in the middle and gelled, gleaming. Qin Yi, what are you doing here? Lu Jiwei turned her head and seemed a bit surprised to see this young man here. I was just doing some work nearby and knew you were interning here, so I came to find you. The young man walked in and glanced at Xiang Beifei sitting in his school uniform, then said, You've caught another high school delinquent? What did he do, steal or fight? Do you need my help to interrogate him? He's not a delinquent. He's my dad's apprentice. His name is Xiang Beifei. Lu Jiwei explained and then introduced to Xiang Beifei. This is my college classmate, Qin Yi. Uncle Lu started taking students? Qin Yi's gaze flashed with surprise. Then he continued, Didn't Uncle Lu say he was too busy with work to take on apprentices? How come he changed his mind all of a sudden? It's not the same. My dad saw his strong deductive abilities, suitable for being a city guardian, so he took him as an apprentice, planning to groom him properly. By now, Lu Jiwei had completely believed in her father's appraisal of Xiang Beifei. He really is amazing. He only needed one look to describe the criminal situation in detail. I am currently learning deductive skills from him. Qin Yi felt a bit uneasy upon hearing these words. He had specifically intended to ask Lu Hong to teach him last time, to get closer to Lu Jiwei, but Lu Hong had tactfully refused him. Yet, to his surprise, he found out today that the law enforcement captain of the Western District had taken an apprentice. What was so special about this young man? Why had Lu Hong taken him as an apprentice? Now I'm curious. He's still just a high school student, right? Qin Yi carefully sized up Xiang Beifei, his expression slightly grave. I remember the awaken ceremony from high school just passed not long ago. Is he an S-class? Or an SR-class genius? If he were an S-class or the even stronger SR-class, it was no wonder Lu Hong favored him, and he needed to pay attention. Such people were good to establish relationships with for easier interactions in the future. Lu Jiwei said, He's an N-class awakener, but only N-class? Qin Yi was stunned for a moment, then frowned. Himself, a distinguished S-class awakener from Liangzhou University, had been rejected by Lu Hong as a disciple. Yet Lu Hong had accepted an N-class as a disciple? Qin Yi felt aggrieved. To them, the S-class awakeners, N-classers were basically trash on the streets, barely noteworthy, so why would Lu Hong choose an N-class? It wasn't that Qin Yi truly desired to become Lu Hong's disciple. He just wanted to strengthen his ties with Lu Jiwei. Even if Lu Hong had taken an S-class disciple, he would have accepted it. But why an N-class? Qin Yi's gaze towards Xiang Beifei was quite displeased. This kid, besides being more handsome and taller than him, how could he compare with him? He had prestigious family background and was an S-class freshman at Liangzhou University. Why did Lu Hong choose this kid and not him? However, Qin Yi suddenly thought of something and chuckled lightly. I get it. Uncle Lu couldn't be moved by pity for his pathetic N-class awakener talent and made an exception to give him a chance. Could he? That was the only explanation. Otherwise, why would any sane person take an N-class awakener over an S-class genius? Thinking this, he felt more at ease. Don't talk nonsense. He's my dad's friend's son, Lu Jiwei said. Oh, he got in through the back door. Qin Yi became even more disdainful, his voice dripping with sarcasm towards Xiang Beifei. He, as an S-class prodigy from Liangzhou University, would never regard an N-class awakener seriously. Hey, watch how you speak. He didn't get in through the back door. He's genuinely skilled. Stop looking down on others. Okay? Lu Jiwei, hands on hips, was clearly unhappy with Qin Yi's snide remarks. All right. You say he's skilled. Then he must be. Qin Yi chuckled again, glancing at Xiang Beifei. He wouldn't bother arguing with an N-class awakener. With only N-class talent, even if he excelled in some areas, how far could he really go? His lifetime's achievement would merely reach the later stages of chi controlling at best. Whereas he, as an S-class genius, advancing to the meridian opening phase was only a matter of time. A common chicken and a phoenix were simply incomparable. In this ruthlessly realistic world, the higher the system talent of the awakener, the easier it was to carve out accomplishments in any field. Especially graduates from the 9 major universities, each was a member of the elite in society, possessing far more resources than ordinary people, whether in connections or status. Qin Yi, as an S-class from Liangde, just by stepping out, could make a great success in business or leadership, a true paragon among people. In his eyes, the likes of Xiang Beifei, an N-class awakener, would end up working under someone like him, an S-class prodigy, in the future. I don't feel like explaining anymore. Don't bother me. I want to learn reasoning skills from him. Lu Jiwei ignored Qin Yi and looked eagerly at Xiang Beifei. Though she was also an S-level student at Liangzhou University, she wasn't as arrogant as Qin Yi. On the contrary, she had been well educated, thanks to her upright father. Lu Hong had done a good job educating her from a young age, frequently reminding her that there's always someone better out there. Therefore, Lu Jiwei never missed an opportunity to improve herself. Even if Xiang Beifei was just an N-level awakener. Give me the access card. I'm going to train. Xiang Beifei paid no attention to Qin Yi. Rather than wasting words with others, he preferred to focus on improving himself first. No way. Teach me a bit more. Analyze one more criminal for me and walk me through your reasoning process. Lu Jiwei waved her notebook. Consider it the fee for escorting you home tonight. I'll escort you home for the night, and in return, you teach me one reasoning technique. How about that? Qin Yi's gaze darkened when he saw Lu Jiwei ignoring his presence, an S-level, and actually seeking to learn from an N-level. After all, he was an S-level. Being disregarded so casually, wasn't that an affront to him? He said, Xiao Wei, if you want to learn reasoning skills, wouldn't it be better to learn from me? Why must you learn from an N-level person? You can reason? Lu Jiwei looked dubiously at Qin Yi. I don't recall you having that ability. I usually just keep a low profile, not showing off. I remember Uncle Lu once said, a capable person doesn't need to say how capable they are. Those without abilities are the ones who feel the need to show off what they can do. Don't get tricked by these N-level newcomers. All right? Qin Yi straightened his collar, puffing out his chest. His words were very straightforward. Xiang Beifei belonged to those who lack abilities but pretend to have them in front of Lu Jiwei, attempting to gain a sense of presence in front of her. Oh, you remember what I said, huh? At that moment, Lu Hong also walked in. Uncle Lu, long time no see. I've always looked up to you every time we meet. Qin Yi hastily flattered him. Lu Hong glanced at Qin Yi and then at Xiang Beifei, who was quietly sitting in the chair waiting, and smiled. Indeed, those who are capable don't usually boast about their abilities. Beifei had never claimed to have any reasoning abilities. He always attributed everything to luck. Meanwhile, Qin Yi couldn't wait to show off his reasoning abilities to Lu Jiwei, eager to let her know he was a genius with reasoning skills. Who Lu Hong was referring to was clear as day. Qin Yi didn't catch the subtext of Lu Hong's words. Seeing Lu Hong return, he naturally needed to perform well, showing Lu Hong that refusing to accept an S-level as a disciple in favor of an N-level was a grave mistake. He looked at his system interface. Host, Qin Yi. S-level, talent aggregation system. Realm, advanced qi controlling. The talent aggregation system was incredible because it could provide not just one, but a variety of talents. This system worked by extracting the talents of others, temporarily bestowing someone else's particular talent onto oneself, which greatly enhances that ability for a limited time. Right now, Qin Yi planned to show off in front of Lu Hong and Lu Jiwei. His mind raced. Do you have spent 500 talent value? Please select the talent you wish to extract. Various talent options appeared on Qin Yi's system interface, including writing talent, public speaking talent, music talent, martial arts talent, reasoning talent. A long list of options covered all aspects of a person's abilities. You have chosen reasoning talent. For safety, automatically ignoring targets stronger than you. Talent effective time, 3 hours. Beyond this time, the extracted talent will automatically return. Starting extraction. You have extracted Lu Jiwei's reasoning talent, your reasoning ability +1. You have extracted Xiang Beifei's reasoning talent, your reasoning ability +10. You have extracted Cheng Li's reasoning talent, your reasoning ability +5. Qin Yi's system began scanning everyone in the law enforcement office. It was only 6 o'clock, and with many criminal events in the system world, the law enforcement office was often working overtime. There were still many people around, including offenders and law enforcement personnel. Qin Yi extracted the reasoning talents of those whose cultivation level was similar to or lower than his. But for someone with higher cultivation like Lu Hong, Qin Yi didn't dare to touch. Low-level individuals targeting high-level individuals could easily be detected, and even suffer backlash. Everyone actually possesses reasoning ability. As long as one is not an idiot, one has it to some degree. For example, if a pen stops writing, one could deduce that the refill is broken or there's no ink left. That is the simplest reasoning ability. But everyone's reasoning ability varies, so the value of the extracted talent differs from person to person. Even the criminals in the interrogation rooms have reasoning skills. He extracted reasoning abilities from a total of 17 people. A few law enforcement officers had a more potent presence than him, so he didn't dare touch theirs. In just a short span of 10 seconds or so, Qin Yi's reasoning ability value soared to 121. The average person would be pretty good to have a score of 60. In his system's estimation, even Lu Hong, the captain of the law enforcement team for the Western District, would only have a reasoning ability between 80 and 90. Although this reasoning skill was quite outstanding, it still couldn't compare to Qin Yi's. This meant that for the next 3 hours, Qin Yi's reasoning ability would be the very best in the entire office. You have chosen to spend 500 talent value to extract another's reasoning talent. Task requirement. Solve 10 cases. Task completion reward. An amulet. Every time Qin Yi extracted someone's talent, he had to think 3 times before acting because extracting someone else's talent meant he had to undertake a related talent task from the system. If he couldn't complete the task, it meant wasting talent value for nothing. But if he completed the task, he would not only get the talent value back but also receive an extra reward. The talent value could be exchanged for various goods, which he needed to accumulate by doing tasks, making it very important to him. This was the law enforcement squad, and if he concentrated the best of others' reasoning talents onto himself, he would become the top reasoning expert here. Solving 10 cases wasn't difficult under normal circumstances. Watch closely, you N-level dimwit. Today, I'll show you what an S-level reasoning genius looks like. Qin Yi gave Xiang Beifei a glance. Qin Yi thought he had stealthily extracted everyone's talents without anyone noticing, unaware that Xiang Beifei was watching his actions with great interest. With a congregation of S-level talents, when Qin Yi extracted a certain talent from others, in 3 hours, that talent was forcefully taken away by Qin Yi. Thus, Qin Yi was a crane among chickens, having extracted others' talents. He then launched a dimension-reducing strike on others, making them incomparable to him in that area. With this system, wherever Qin Yi went, he would almost certainly be an undeniable genius. For example, in a singing competition, he would simply take away the musical talents of the other contestants, making himself the one with the most formidable talent. As long as he didn't touch those with higher cultivation than his, victory was almost a sure thing. By leveraging this system, within his first year at Liangzhou University, Qin Yi had won New Student Singing Competition Champion, Best Eloquence Award of Liangzhou University Debate Contest, first place in long jump for freshman category, a total of 21 various awards. He simply needed to extract others' talents to himself, lowering the other contestants' talents, and winning was all too easy. Of course, his task list included failures as well, such as when he only got second place in the high jump competition, probably because he ran into a tough nut to crack, someone with an even stronger system. After all, Liangzhou University was a hiding place for crouching tigers and hidden dragons, filled mainly with S-level geniuses, and not lacking even SR-level geniuses. The last time he was defeated by an SR-level individual, it wasn't all that unjust. But still, being second was dazzling since adding up all areas, he had won the most awards among the freshmen. With a multitude of awards to his name, he was certainly the center of attention. After extracting everyone's talents, Qin Yi's confidence in deduction greatly increased. He provocatively glanced at Xiang Beifei and said to him, "Xiao Wei said you have strong reasoning abilities, which aroused the hidden deduction passion within me. Friend, how about we compare our deduction skills? We can discuss deduction approaches and even help the enforcement brigade solve some cases, meanwhile contributing to the security of the Western District. What do you say?" Qin Yi's words were watertight, as he deliberately wanted to show off his skills in front of Lu Hong and Lu Jiwei. By solving 10 cases, not only would he receive system rewards, but he would also make Lu Jiwei understand who the real deduction genius is. She would surely come to learn reasoning skills from him once she realized this. 2 birds with 1 stone. As for the possibility of losing to Xiang Beifei, Qin Yi wasn't worried in the slightest. "I am the star freshman of Liangzhou University's Liberal Arts College this year. You think you can flaunt your reasoning talent in front of me?" In his eyes, his S-level talent was enough to grind N-level Xiang Beifei into the dust. "You two want to compare reasoning abilities?" Lu Jiwei's eyes lit up. She was eager for others to demonstrate how to deduce cases in front of her, so she could take notes and improve her reasoning skills. She had already witnessed Xiang Beifei's reasoning abilities, but Qin Yi had not yet showcased his. Though judging by Qin Yi's performance at school, as long as it involved a competition, he never lost. Speaking with such confidence, he surely believed in himself. If the 2 men were to spar in deductive skill, she would certainly benefit immensely. Excited, Lu Jiwei asked, "Beifei, are you interested?" Lu Hong's gaze flickered slightly. With his skill at reading people, he naturally understood what Qin Yi was plotting. A mere show to satisfy his own vanity. He didn't like people like Qin Yi. In his opinion, Xiang Beifei's deductive abilities were exceedingly rare, and he would certainly not lose to Qin Yi. But he didn't speak out. Accepting the challenge was Xiang Beifei's decision to make. All 3 of them looked at Xiang Beifei, waiting for his response. But Xiang Beifei spread his hands, uninterested in such matters. "Uncle Lu, I'm here for training. I don't like analyzing case details. Can you take me to the training room? I have some questions I'd like to ask you." He didn't want to waste time. Now that Lu Hong had returned, he needed to quickly discuss his doubts about Rapid Flame with him. Lu Jiwei asked with a hint of regret, "Beifei, aren't you really going to give it a try?" Xiang Beifei still shook his head. I just want to train. Seeing Xiang Beifei's resolute attitude, Lu Hong couldn't help but sigh. The kid clearly had the ability but was unwilling to show it off. His indifference to fame and fortune was truly rare. All right, I'll take you to train. Lu Hong always appreciated those who could keep their composure. The kid was diligent, polite, and full of potential. He was bound to have a limitless future. Compared to Qin Yi, he had more faith in Xiang Beifei and wanted to cultivate his talents. Xiang Beifei followed Lu Hong towards the door. As he passed by Qin Yi, he thought for a moment, then turned to say, "Work hard on the case. Make good use of your reasoning capabilities, and try to contribute to the security of the Western District." His tone was sincere, filled with righteousness. Qin Yi narrowed his eyes and sneered lazily. "You sure know your place. But as an N-level awakener, don't you want to learn how to analyze cases from me? It's a rare opportunity." Xiang Beifei shrugged his shoulders and said nothing more, choosing to leave with Lu Hong instead. He just left like that. Lu Jiwei was somewhat disappointed. She really wanted to see Beifei show more of his reasoning ability, but Xiang Beifei had no interest in accepting the challenge. Qin Yi said, "Haha, Xiao Wei, isn't it normal for him to leave? An N-level awakener like him must have wet his pants the moment he heard that I and you come from Liangzhou University. We're S-level, he's N-level. He's nothing in front of us." He knew that if he accepted the challenge, he would expose his true level, so slinking away is the best choice. He's giving himself an out. Qin Yi was quite pleased with himself. Actually, he has some skill in reasoning. Lu Jiwei still spoke up for Xiang Beifei. She had been quite impressed by his deduction of the bald man earlier. Qin Yi said, "Xiao Wei, you are too naive. Don't let him deceive you with just a few words. Come on, let me show you what a real reasoning talent is." He walked outside. Lu Jiwei followed, half believing and half doubting. Outside, a law enforcement officer was dealing with a case involving a house robbery. Various pieces of evidence were packaged in plastic bags and spread across a table along with several crime scene photos, creating a messy display on the surface. "Weird, we just found some clues, but now suddenly I can't make heads or tails of it." The law enforcement officer frowned. Just 5 minutes ago, he had almost solved the case, but for some reason, his mind seemed to have slowed down, and he couldn't understand things he had just figured out. He had even called the person who reported the crime, ready to close the case, and the robbed woman was sitting across from him, waiting for him to say something. Now, he didn't know how to explain. This law enforcement officer was equipped with an R-level electronic tracking system and had recently graduated from a regular university. Everyone called him Xiao Chao. His cultivation was just at the mid-stage of qi controlling, not even on par with Qin Yi, an S-level freshman from Liangzhou University. He was unaware that the sudden confusion in resolving the case was because Qin Yi had extracted his reasoning capabilities, messing up his logic. At that moment, Qin Yi approached Xiao Chao with big strides, boldly proclaiming, "What's so difficult about this case? Let me help you." Qin Yi casually flipped through the photos and evidence, and after glancing at the unpredictably moody plaintiff, he slowly said, "This case is not difficult at all. You think this is a burglary case, but actually, there are too many suspicious points in this case. The timing of these so-called pieces of evidence is too coincidental to be valid. I can tell you with certainty that this is not a case of burglary but a staged case. Normally, it would be a case you concocted to commit insurance fraud, wouldn't it?" The woman sitting opposite Xiao Chao changed her facial expression slightly, clenched her handbag tightly, and said nervously, "You, don't joke, someone did break in. I called the police. Just look at the surveillance. The surveillance shows the burglar was your accomplice. You think you did a perfect job, but you still missed one thing. We captured another photo." Qin Yi effortlessly pulled a photo from the evidence. The silhouette captured here shows you talking to a man after the incident. Although this man has disguised himself, you greatly underestimated our technology. The slight disguise could never fool us. You two collaborated to commit insurance fraud. Qin Yi laid out one piece of evidence after another on the table until the woman was red-faced and speechless. Exactly. How did I not think of that? Xiao Chao appeared to have an epiphany, smacking his own head, somewhat annoyed but at the same time admiringly looking at Qin Yi. Impressive! You solved what I was unclear about so quickly. I really underestimated you, Lu Jiwei exclaimed as well. Haha! It's nothing. Just a piece of cake. Qin Yi was very pleased with himself. In fact, this case was not something Xiao Chao hadn't thought of. Xiao Chao had thought of it and was ready to close the case. But Qin Yi had snatched away his reasoning talent, which confused him. Qin Yi was merely presenting others' flowers as his tribute. He could not only take away others' talents but also acquire their original reasoning thoughts. As long as he integrated the reasoning process of this case from Xiao Chao into his own mind, relying on the amassed reasoning abilities, solving the case was a matter of a moment. If it had been a completely unfamiliar case, he wouldn't have been able to solve it so quickly. But neither Xiao Chao nor Lu Jiwei were aware of Qin Yi's system, and they attributed the solving of the case to Qin Yi himself. Thus, they were extremely impressed with him for a while. So, Xiao Wei, if you want to learn reasoning abilities, you should seek me out. If it had been that high school student, he'd probably still be pondering the meaning of the photo now, Qin Yi boasted proudly. Xiang Beifei and Lu Hong walked toward the training room. He didn't know what Qin Yi was talking about, but solving a case wasn't too difficult for him either because many crime processes were written into the suspect's system tasks. It was plain to see. On the way, Lu Hong couldn't help but ask, "You clearly have such impressive reasoning abilities. Are you content to be mocked by Qin Yi? Using reasoning abilities to solve cases is good enough. There's no need to prove who is stronger," Xiang Beifei said. He had just had 10 points of reasoning talent extracted by Qin Yi, but it had no effect on him. Xiaohe would use a spiritual power crystal to disguise any system points he lost. Xiang Beifei liked to quietly prosper. He even hoped Qin Yi would complete his system tasks quickly. Then he could get free shipping again. You, with such a temperament, you're easily bullied and likely to suffer in the future. Lu Hong shook his head. Sometimes, suffering losses isn't a bad thing. Misfortune leans on fortune. Xiang Beifei was best at suffering losses. Qin Yi was insistent on performing tasks on him, and he couldn't do anything about it. Qin Yi might think he had made a huge gain, but Xiang Beifei never suffered a loss. You child. Lu Hong smiled, not knowing what else to say. He increasingly found favor with Xiang Beifei. He himself was an S-level awakener, also within the investigation system, with an especially keen eye, except for when dealing with S-level disguise awakeners like Chen Gang. He rarely misjudged people. Qin Yi was interested in his daughter and had persistently asked him to mentor him, but he found Qin Yi too impulsive and too skilled at flattery. Mentorship was not the goal, which displeased him, so he had refused. But Xiang Beifei was different. Possessing outstanding talent, a good personality, doing things quietly without flaunting, and avoiding needless competition. He truly appreciated such a person. Although he refrained from inquiring into Xiang Beifei's secrets, he wouldn't really believe that Xiang Beifei was an N-level awakener. I just wonder if this kid has any feelings for Xiao Wei. They are only a year apart. If they could see eye to eye. Lu Hong had some weird thoughts flashing through his mind. Entering the training room, Xiang Beifei changed his clothes and commenced warm-up exercises before training. Uncle Lu, if I manage to create sparks, how should I gather them together? Xiang Beifei asked. Seeing how dedicated Xiang Beifei was to his training, Lu Hong, fearing that he was rushing, said, Beifei, practicing rapid flame needs to be done step by step. When I first trained in this technique, it took me a full 2 weeks just to produce sparks, and Xiao Wei, being naturally restless and highly talented in this area, took 2 months to learn it because it wasn't her system ability. If you can't produce sparks, it's not a big deal because my rapid flame technique comes from my own system, and it might not match your system attributes. So, you need to keep a level head, not set too high expectations, and not be too demanding. It's completely normal to spend a month or 2. Does it take that long? Xiang Beifei was a bit puzzled, shook his hands, and then swung a punch forward in a rather ordinary manner. Zzzt. The punch, carrying a few sparks, blasted a sandbag away. What? Lu Hong stared at Xiang Beifei's punch, then gasped in shock. He was utterly stunned. He actually managed it? How could it be so quick? Lu Hong found it incredibly hard to believe his own eyes. To think that rapid flame was a technique derived from his own system, which surely would be most suited for him to train in, and others should have some setbacks. But why did it take him 2 weeks to master it, while this kid managed it in just 1 day? He hadn't been training in rapid flame for even 24 hours yet, had he? Whose system's cultivation technique was rapid flame, after all? Lu Hong almost thought he was the outsider when it came to practicing rapid flame. You've grasped the basics already? Lu Hong asked in astonishment. Xiang Beifei threw another punch, sparks flickering, carrying a roaring sound, and slightly nodded, saying, I thought it wouldn't be difficult. I've been practicing it during breaks today. Lu Hong's chest heaved repeatedly, finding it hard to calm his breath. He was choked up by Xiang Beifei's words. Xiang Beifei hadn't even been training for a whole day, just during class breaks. The fastest to train in a technique from his own system wasn't himself but someone else. For a moment, he thought the awakened system belonged to Beifei. Lu Hong was at a loss for a long while, watching Xiang Beifei, unsure what to say. He thought he had been keeping a close eye on Xiang Beifei, but he never expected that it was still not enough. Sometimes when you compare yourself to others, it can truly choke you. Uncle Lu, how does one gather Mars to form a flame? Xiang Beifei had no idea what Lu Hong was thinking because this wasn't his system's cultivation technique. So he had no concept of how long it should take to practice these techniques or how to practice them. He could now produce a gust of wind with his punch, but the power of this gust was not yet sufficient. He aimed to reach the powerful levels that Lu Hong had when he dealt with Chen Gang. Finally, having regulated his emotions, Lu Hong collected his thoughts and said, reaching this step means you've begun to glimpse the path. To advance further, you need to change the direction of the spiritual power in your hands. Next, you need to convert the spiritual power to your palm, letting your palm control the spiritual power of the fist. Although this was a technique from his own system, Lu Hong was not stingy and meticulously taught Xiang Beifei each and every point. Xiang Beifei studied seriously according to the method taught by Lu Hong. Having such a good teacher meant he could avoid many detours. Lu Hong stood to the side, watching Xiang Beifei, who was fully focused on his punches, and nodded slightly. At that moment, a line of text appeared on his system interface. Investigation system has detected a special N-level awakener who has mastered the rapid flame more aptly than the host. The system has forcefully initiated investigation mode. Investigation target: Xiang Beifei. Investigation direction: martial arts talent. Lu Hong was quite surprised to see the task that suddenly appeared in his system. Normally his investigation system would issue various investigation tasks which he could choose freely, like when working on cases, he might come across a murder weapon at the crime scene, and the system would issue tasks like, please investigate the origin of this weapon, rewarding him upon completion. But with previous tasks from the system, Lu Hong could choose whether or not to take them on. However, this time the system had forcibly initiated investigation mode. Lu Hong mentally responded, I don't want to investigate him. I've already said as much last time. Following the incident with Lai Wuying, the system had issued the task. Would you like to investigate Xiang Beifei? After much deliberation, Lu Hong had decided to choose no. Beifei had saved his life. He was very grateful and felt it was unkind to pry into someone else's secrets. However, another line of text appeared in his system. This task is mandatory and cannot be refused. Rapid flame is a cultivation technique generated by the system tailored for the host, yet someone fits it even better than the host. The system needs to reassess the power of rapid flame and, if necessary, will collect Xiang Beifei's cultivation progress and details to refine the rapid flame technique. Impossible to refuse? Lu Hong stared blankly. He pondered deeply, but another line of text appeared on the interface. The system requires the host to teach Xiang Beifei all of the rapid flame techniques, to master his every step of the cultivation plan, to aid him in fully mastering rapid flame, facilitating system assessment, and to improve the host's way of cultivating rapid flame, enhancing the power of the rapid flame technique. Teaching rapid flame to Xiang Beifei was already Lu Hong's intention. But something felt off. Such tasks from the system seemed illogical. He continued to inquire, what if Beifei fully masters rapid flame? The host may choose, erase him, seize all comprehension about rapid flame from him, and integrate it into oneself. Nonsense. Lu Hong spoke sternly. I am a city guardian, not a murderer. I won't undertake such a task. The host may also choose to cultivate him, and after Xiang Beifei has fully mastered it, ask Xiang Beifei to help the host improve the cultivation method. Note, this cultivation technique is the host's basic reliance, and the host's understanding of rapid flame is not on par with Xiang Beifei. To become more powerful, feedback from Xiang Beifei is essential. Lu Hong stared at the words on the system interface, falling into deep thought. As long as it doesn't involve killing, this option is acceptable to him. But, once Beifei has fully grasped rapid flame, would he be willing to share his insights with him? Lu Hong didn't have the confidence. The system's message was very clear. Once Xiang Beifei mastered the power of rapid flame, he would certainly be stronger than himself in the future. People are selfish, and once they become powerful, they guard their newfound strength as a core secret, barely keeping up with their own protection, let alone sharing it with others. Forget it, if Beifei can grasp a deeper level of rapid flame, it's still a good thing. If he can give me feedback, great, but if not, I'll just let it be. Though Lu Hong was very curious about what a more powerful rapid flame might be like, he was fundamentally an honest man, living with openness. If Beifei wanted to help him, he'd accept the help. If not, he wouldn't insist. As a reward, each time Xiang Beifei progresses a level in rapid flame, the host will receive a corresponding reward. Current progress. Xiang Beifei has thrown 13,000 punches, creating sparks with his punches, equivalent to the host throwing 164,000 punches. Beifei's punching details have been recorded in preparation for rewriting the rapid flame database. Mission reward. Investigation ability value plus 2,000. 2,000 points? Lu Hong was taken aback. He knew that when he normally investigated a criminal, he might only get rewarded with 100 points. The system simply recorded Xiang Beifei's punching details and gave him 2,000 points just like that. Lu Hong watched the way Xiang Beifei earnestly threw his punches and was truly amazed. He also faintly sensed something special about each of Beifei's punches. The method of execution was evidently no different from his own, yet somehow it felt distinct. Was this Beifei's understanding of rapid flame? Originally, he had taught Xiang Beifei rapid flame only to thank Beifei for helping him investigate Lai Wuing, but he had not expected that Beifei would inadvertently bring him these benefits after mastering it. If Xiang Beifei is willing to provide feedback, you may receive an advanced pill. An advanced pill. Lu Hong's heartbeat accelerated instantly. He was currently at the initial perfected stage of meridian opening. To step into the middle stage of meridian opening, there were two methods. One was relying on his own understanding. The other was buying an advanced pill. Relying on his own understanding was truly a challenge for him. It wasn't that his perception was poor, but at the meridian opening stage, every step forward required an epiphany, and such epiphanies do not just happen on demand. Some people may have an epiphany upon seeing a withering grass, while others may struggle for several years without any enlightenment. Lu Hong belonged to the latter. He was naturally very talented, but because of an injury he sustained while on duty, his progress became slow, trapping him in the initial stage of meridian opening for nearly 15 years. It was difficult to advance on his own understanding, so he needed to exchange for an advanced pill, striving to step into the middle stage of meridian opening. Yet, even now, he still needed to accumulate tens of thousands of investigation points to purchase an advanced pill. He hadn't expected that this time, the system would raise the reward to a significantly higher level in order to improve his rapid flame. Lu Hong's heart was ablaze with excitement. The allure of the advanced pill was simply too great for him. Xiang Beifei was still forcefully throwing punches. The speed of his punches grew faster, and the spark on his fists flickered. Following the method of spiritual power circulation taught by Lu Hong, he tried to fully unleash rapid flame but still did not succeed. The method of circulating spiritual power taught by Uncle Lu is indeed difficult, he said. Xiang Beifei stopped and looked at his palm, concentrating spiritual power in the palm. With each punch, spiritual power flowed from between the fingers to the fist, relying on speed to unleash the power of rapid flame. For some reason, Xiang Beifei always felt this method was somewhat cumbersome. Given Uncle Lu's character, he wouldn't teach me the wrong way to use rapid flame, but why does the training method itself seem like this? Xiang Beifei found it strange. He applied the regenerative ointment given by Lu Hong on his arms to alleviate the soreness, ran the chaos yin-yang formula again, and his condition slightly recovered. Sitting in the chair, he contemplated how spiritual power should be circulated more effectively. The learn by analogy ability could enhance Xiang Beifei's comprehension, which was also why he could quickly learn the techniques taught by Lu Hong. However, in his perception, the way to execute rapid flame seemed to have limitations. Xiang Beifei could not be sure of this, as he didn't have a system to consult when he had doubts during cultivation. Although Xiaohe rolled around on his shoulder all day, it treated the methods regarding system rewards very roughly, simply assimilating them without studying them in depth. Since rapid flame was taught by Lu Hong, it knew even less about it. Xiang Beifei could only rely on himself to figure it out. Since the ultimate outcome is to ignite the burning spiritual power and create a huge impact, could there be another way for the spiritual powers to converge? Xiang Beifei began to ponder this matter. Lu Hong had been accompanying Xiang Beifei at the training ground, wanting to see if Xiang Beifei could advance further in mastering rapid flame. The fact that Xiang Beifei had entered the door of rapid flame within a single day was truly shocking to him, and his system had issued a mandatory task with an advancement pill as the reward, which made him take it seriously. Seeing Xiang Beifei sit down to think, he wanted to go over and inquire, but he ultimately restrained himself. He has his own ideas, and I shouldn't disturb him, he thought. Lu Hong felt very anxious in his heart. He hoped Xiang Beifei could improve rapid flame, yet he was conflicted about whether Xiang Beifei would share back the method with him. If it were something else, he might not take it too seriously. But the system's reward was an advancement pill. That was a pill that could help him progress to the middle stage of meridian opening. If he could get an advancement pill, he was willing to give Xiang Beifei any system reward he could currently exchange. I mustn't overthink it, let nature take its course, he thought. Lu Hong forced himself to calm down. If Xiang Beifei was willing to share feedback, that would be best. If not, he must keep himself clear-headed. No matter how tempting, he wouldn't allow himself to choose another incorrect method offered by the system. Xiang Beifei channeled the spiritual power generated by the chaos yin-yang formula into his fingertips. Suddenly, he thought if he punched out and divided his spiritual power into two parts, letting them clash and explode, wouldn't it create a greater force than relying on air friction alone? He couldn't be sure, so he decided to give it a try. This method wasn't easy to master. He failed the first time, but he didn't get discouraged and continued to swing his fists, adjusting the two streams of spiritual power. After trying no less than 1,000 times, he finally discovered the optimal balance of the two spiritual power streams. When he punched out, sparks exploded, turning into a fiery red violent gust. Boom! The violent gust was only 2 inches away from his body, but it had a peculiar resilience and could even be used as a defensive tactic. This is indeed rare. Even Xiang Beifei himself was surprised after discovering this ability of rapid flame. Because during Lu Hong's teaching, rapid flame was an exceptionally powerful and aggressive attack technique with no defensive capabilities, relying solely on brute force to pummel the opponent. If the opponent also countered with brute force, one would have to physically withstand the opponent's attack. However, according to Xiang Beifei's experiments, he could actually transform an offensive move into a defensive tactic. He tried again and found out that if he controlled the flame gale well, it could morph and disperse at an angle he desired or even explode at a critical moment, providing more options during combat. However, since Xiang Beifei's current realm was only at the early stages of qi controlling, his spiritual power was not abundant enough to fully harness the power of Rapid Flame's violent gust. Given his current state, not to mention Lu Hong, even Qin Yi, who had the literary Dao system, could easily break his violent gust. It seems I need to advance my realm first. The strength of the early stage of qi controlling was indeed insufficient. Xiang Beifei sat down cross-legged and continued practicing. Qin Yi, utilizing his reasoning talent, thrived in the enforcement unit during the evenings. He had extracted the reasoning talent from everyone in the enforcement team, diminishing their reasoning abilities and enhancing his own. Basically, everyone in the department seemed like a novice in reasoning in front of him. Those with lower cultivation and system levels than Qin Yi seemed dim-witted when solving cases, and at that moment, with just a couple of casual hints from Qin Yi, their problems were effortlessly resolved, making him the subject of everyone's praise. No wonder he's an S-class student from Liangzhou University. He's amazing. Yeah, Brother Qin, you're practically divine. No one can match your case-solving abilities. Qin Yi, when you graduate, are you interested in working here? We could rely on you to crack cases. Many officers were endlessly praising Qin Yi, completely impressed by his strong case-solving skills. Oh, not at all. I just love reasoning and even participate in various reasoning societies at school. I came here looking for Xiao Wei and got intrigued by the cases. Sorry to show off my little trick. Qin Yi laughed out loud. Being praised by so many, he felt somewhat elated. With his talent aggregation system in play, he could become the center of attention wherever he went, as long as he used it well. It's rare to see such modesty in young people these days. Most of these officers' talents were not comparable to Qin Yi's, and they had no idea that the reasoning prowess Qin Yi displayed was actually siphoned from them. They thought it was all Qin Yi's own doing, and they kept praising the young man vigorously. It's a pity that that N-grade high school student is not here. If he saw my unparalleled reasoning talent, he would definitely be ashamed. Hee. Qin Yi relished being lauded. Yet thinking of Xiang Beifei, he felt somewhat displeased. Today, the system was initiated to extract the talents of others, and the plan was to give that N-level awakener a good thrashing so he would understand what the words genius really mean and, more importantly, to show him the gap between N-level and S-level. It's just a pity that the kid actually refused to fight and ran away. Qin Yi looked at Lu Jiwei, who had been following him and taking notes seriously, feeling quite proud. He knew that Lu Jiwei wanted to learn reasoning abilities, and with his own performance today at the enforcement squad, he should have impressed her, right? Xiao Wei, what do you think? Has my reasoning ability inspired you? Qin Yi walked over to Lu Jiwei, asked with a proud smile. But he quickly realized that Lu Jiwei did not seem to admire him as he had imagined. Instead, she was pondering something. What's the matter? Xiao Wei, you seem preoccupied. Qin Yi asked. No, I'm just thinking about something. Lu Jiwei was biting her pen, and although Qin Yi had shown off his skills tonight and convinced many people, she felt that many of Qin Yi's deductions weren't that difficult, as they all came from existing evidence. They didn't leave as deep an impression as Xiang Beifei had. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about Beifei, Lu Jiwei said. Thinking about him? Qin Yi's expression darkened for a moment before he squeezed out a smile. Xiao Wei, you don't still think that high school student named Xiang Beifei has any reasoning ability, do you? He ran away the moment he heard he was going to compete with me in reasoning. I've said it before, an N-level nobody pretending to be something he's not. The moment I take action, he's exposed. How can he compare to us at S-level? Lu Jiwei furrowed her brows, thought for a moment, and pointing at the bald man in the interrogation room, said, Then can you tell me, what did that bald man do wrong? The bald man? Qin Yi looked towards the man named LV He, thought for a while, and began walking towards him. Where are you going? Lu Jiwei called from behind. To inquire, of course. Without asking, how can the case be solved? Qin Yi replied. However, Lu Jiwei said, Aren't you able to find clues from various traces? Then just look at him from a distance and tell me what characteristics this bald man has, and what crime he is most likely to have committed. That's a bit difficult, Qin said. Just now, when Beifei looked at him, he identified this bald man's occupation and crime almost perfectly with a single glance, Lu Jiwei said. Hearing this, Qin knew he had to prove himself. If an N-level nobody could identify the traits of this bald man, could he, an S-level genius who had gathered so many people's reasoning talents, possibly fail? Qin stood outside the interrogation room, staring at the bald man, observing him for quite some time. His fingernails were very long, looking as if they hadn't been trimmed for a while. Fighting? Considering his slender fingers, suitable for mutating into various types of claws, and also being bald, perhaps it was due to mutation-caused hair loss. The skin on his face was slack, but his eyes were still lively, combining the abnormal fingers and nails. These characteristics seemed to be the lingering effects left behind to fit the physical mutation of anthropomorphism. That is to say, this guy might have awakened some sort of mutation system that could mutate his body into a beast. Without the ability to inquire and not allowed to approach, Qin couldn't learn more details, and could only make a rough analysis based solely on the appearance, clothing, and physical features of the other party. This speculation should be pretty accurate. He coughed and said, Xiao Wei, if I'm not wrong, this person has the ability to transform into a beast, and he must have been brought in for fighting and disturbing public order, right? Qin waited somewhat smugly for Lu Jiwei's affirmative response. He expected Lu Jiwei to ask in amazement how he figured it out, after which he could grandly analyze everything, certainly more thoroughly than that N-level high school student. Wouldn't it then be clear who was superior and who was inferior? However, Lu Jiwei looked at Qin with a strange expression and shook her head. No. How could it not be? Qin was slightly taken aback. His ability has nothing to do with transformation into a beast, said Lu Jiwei. Qin face struggled to maintain composure. His system worked by drawing on the collective wisdom, meaning he had absorbed the reasoning talents of the 17 people present. It was as if those 17 people had come to a conclusion together, and he had then claimed their conclusion as his own work. But if none of those 17 people could figure it out, then he definitely couldn't either. And this bald man before him obviously fell into the category where if one didn't know the opponent's system, it was easy to be misled. Then what's the deal? Qin asked. Beifei has already figured it out. Lu Jiwei didn't immediately answer, but instead looked doubtfully at Qin. How could you get it wrong? Qin face twitched. Real deduction is not about watching from a distance, but through conversation, picking out the flaws in the other person's words. So this doesn't prove anything? Qin quickly said. But in many cases, you don't have the opportunity to talk to the criminal. At most you have surveillance footage, and if you can't identify the criminal's features from the footage, then how can you solve the cases? Lu Jiwei, having awakened the super police system, understood various types of case analyses and generalizations, even if her deductive abilities were quite poor. Qin was left speechless for a moment, internally cursing before defending himself. I admit that my people-reading skills aren't very accurate, because my specialty is reasoning through various types of cases, not observing people from afar. After a while, he added defensively, Moreover, you said he figured out what kind of person this bald man is. Maybe that guy was just bluffing you? Perhaps he already knew this bald man, knew what he did in the past, so of course, he came up with an answer when you asked him. Though Lu Jiwei hadn't considered this point and thought it was unlikely, she couldn't be certain, so she didn't argue. Qin glanced at his own system. After he chose the reasoning talent, the system set a task for him to solve 10 cases. He had already solved 8, and now needed to solve 2 more to complete the task. He had to crack 2 simple cases himself. Let's go. I'll show you a thing or 2 more, and then you'll see how good I am, Qin said. What the 2 didn't notice was that, after they left, the bald man who had been keeping his head down in the interrogation room suddenly let out a cold laugh. Think these handcuffs can hold me? How naive. The bald man looked at his handcuffs. These were specially made by the law enforcement team and possessed very strong binding power. Generally, even cultivators at the early stages of meridian opening would find it difficult to break free. But these people didn't know one thing. He was an awakener with the R-level lock-free system.